Welcome to the PMCO EUS Fall Split, day number 3. All of the teams are 1/3 through their games. They all have 8 more to go, and we're getting on to 4 more. My name is Imperium with the wonderful Zute to bring you all the action. How are you doing on this wonderful Thursday? Wait, Thursday? Friday. Thursday. Friday. Friday. Friday?
Thursday.
Thursday. I don't know.
Thursday.
There you go. Thursday. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's Thursday, I believe. I mean, the action has just been nonstop. I get why you lost track of your days. I mean, it's been fast paced, intense, and we're on to the third day being Thursday. And I'm feeling great, honestly. I've gotten a chance to see,
Good.
all 32 teams compete. I've got a better understanding of what these teams bring to the table. And now that I'm familiar with, let's just say, the intensity of some of these teams, I am eager to watch more. And we got 4 more coming today, so I'm quite excited.
Yeah, definitely some heavy hitters in today's lobby. We're going to have a lot to kind of break down. Of course, all of these teams are fighting for a spot in the PMCO Finals and therefore moving into the PMPL. So let's bring on the format if you are just joining us for the first day so you can have an idea on what's coming up and what these teams are realistically fighting for. We do know for a fact, Zute, that the top 15 teams will move on to the finals.
Oh, top 15. So that's the cutoff point. So out of these 32, only about half will get to move on, correct?
Yeah. Just under half me.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, if you guys take a look on your screen, here is the group stage format. 32 teams, 6 days of competition, 4 matches per day, and top 15 move on to the finals. 1 team will be invited, so we will have a total of 16 teams in the finals, and then from there they move on to the PMPL, and that's where all these teams want to head. But let's go ahead and take a look at the points to see how these teams will be getting their points to move on into the PMCO Finals.
Yeah, 15 for first, 12 for second, 10 for third. I'm kind of mentioning the top 3 because those are the points that really make a massive difference, I feel, in the terms in the team's points per game, and then that all elusive 1 point per kill. We all know by now, Sute, it does have an impact. It is something that we're always looking for in terms of how balanced they can be between the placement points and also how dangerous they look in the lobbies.
Oh, of course, 100%, absolutely. Already we saw yesterday there's a 1 point difference between first and second place, and that same point difference could easily happen between the 15th place team and the 16th place team to determine the cutoff. But regardless if they make it or not, everybody is getting some money. So let's take a look at the prize pool where the money is at. And there you guys see it on the screen. Everybody gets a little bit of money, but of course, first place walks away with 4,000 USD. Money is good no matter how much you get.
I swear to God, man, your voice seems to kind of go in a little bit of an extra octave when it comes to the money section of the broadcast. I don't know what that says, but it just really puts a smile on my face. It's like, man, I love money. You love money. All these teams love money. That's what they, of course, are fighting for. And like we said over the last couple of days, it's definitely going to have an impact when it comes to the final day. And let's have a look at the schedule of today's game. So it's 4 games. We do know it by now, of course. Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, Erangel, Group A, Group C, going to be battling it out, Zute.
Group A, Group C, and we'll get back into after a little bit of a break. But the teams from Group A and Group C, there's so much we have to talk about, Imperium. I think today is going to be one of the most exciting days out of all of PMCO. So if you guys are here watching, definitely don't go anywhere. This will be the day to really watch.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be a day to watch. I'm just excited to see on how all these teams are going to deal with, of course, Miramar, Sanhok, and the 2 Erangels. Because we talked about how crazy Sanhok can be in terms of how small the map is, how vast Miramar is, and how that allows a team who's performing well, like four Romanian boys, as a quick example, and how they're able to really take advantage of that vast land to control the late game circles, and then the old faithful double Erangel on board to bookmark the day. You can have a team that feels particularly confident on that to end their day on a strong note. Of course, go into the next day of games feeling just a little bit more confident.
100%. The map order, a tale as old as time. Everybody should be comfortable by now. We are on the third day after all. Every team
True.
that you see from today onwards have already played 4 games. So they've experienced the map order. They've warmed up, so to say, and they only play a total of 3 days, right? Each group. This being the second day. For some, it's their comeback day because they didn't do too well. And for some,
True.
It's a day to really prove luck had nothing to do with it on the first day when they did perform well.
Yes, sir. Could not have said that better myself. And before we break down the teams that are playing today and really have a look at who might be looking to, of course, continue at the top and who's looking to have their redemption day, let's take it to a quick break, brought to you by our sponsors, Xiaomi. And we are back. Like you said, Zute, all of these teams have played 4 games. They have a foundation of good performances and bad performances, depending on which team you are. But now is their chance to really spell their name out even bigger, to really have that redemption day, to keep themselves at the top of the standings. Group A, Group C, what teams are you specifically looking at?
Well, I mean, let's take a look at the teams we have competing today. I mean, out of Group A and Group C, we have some of the best of the best. I mean, you see it on the screen. Group A, Tip Top, Chilen. These are 2 of the teams I'm really looking out for in Group A. But the highlight is between Group A and Group C, 4 Romanian boys are also playing today. And yesterday, we saw 4 Romanian boys take first place by just 1 point over Tip Top Esports. The kicker is, though, these 2 teams have yet to actually battle it out with each other in the lobby. They came in on separate days. So today is the chance to really determine who is the top dog between these 2 teams, because they get a chance to really fight each other face to face.
Yeah, 110%. I'm really excited to see that kind of battle commence. And then, of course, at the bottom of the standings, you have Deuce Gaming, who are coming into this with a roster of PMPL level players, yet have really had a monumentalously bad start with 29th place, 9 points in total, really not looking good. So you really have that fantastic mix of high-level teams, fantastically looking good at top of the standings, hitting our screens for the first time against each other, going up against teams who should be performing better, know they can perform better, are going to have to prove themselves.
Oh, definitely. I like one thing that really stands out to me, Imperium, out of this lobby is that 5 out of the top 7 overall 32 teams, 5 out of the 7 are playing right now today. And then on the opposite end, Imperium, 5 out of the 7 bottom 32 teams are also playing today. So there's a lot to prove today. I mean, for 5 of the 7 on the bottom, this is the day for them to really show why they're here in the PMCO. And for the 5 out of the 7 in the top 32 that's playing today, I mean, I think for them, it's just ego, right? Or not so much ego, but like to really prove their worth and that, you know, they have what it takes to be the top of the top and keep it going.
Yeah, that's so true. So that volatility in the lobby today, I'm hoping it's not extended too much. I want to see those bottom teams. I'm always a massive fan of an underdog team. So I really think sorry, should I say I want to see those teams kind of prove themselves against
Mm-hmm.
the 5 of the 7 top teams so far across the 32. And to be fair, I've been talking to a few of these teams and to a few of these
Okay.
players, notably Chills from Deuce. I said, look, what went wrong? What happened? And he just said essentially like, rough start. They
Mm-hmm.
know that their planning and the timing of how they played their first 4 games was incredibly bad. For example, that
Mm-hmm.
last game crash onto, I forget exactly who it was, in that compound that ended up being a very good compound for the late game. That wasn't planned enough, right? They went into that crash, not enough planning, and they paid the price. They know that. Their moral was
Mm-hmm.
definitely low coming into the first set of games, but they believe
Mm-hmm.
that they can definitely, and they know that they should be performing a lot better in today's 4 games.
Yeah, so these teams, they had a space in between, maybe a day, maybe half a day to really figure out what went wrong. And I'm curious to see, is the bounce back from these teams, is it there? You don't expect that bounce back to happen too often
Mm.
in PMCO just due to lack of experience. But Deuce, you did say it, they are a PMPL team. They have PMPL experienced players. And if any players can
Yeah.
really have that bounce back potential, it would be the rosters with PMPL experienced players, but they got to prove it. They got to put it to the test. Today is their day.
Yeah, today is their day, and a team. We'll look at the overall standings in a bit to see exactly where all these teams lie. But real quick, New Generations, they're in 16th place, so they're right
Mm-hmm.
now. They are very, very, very close to that kind of qualifying spot. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I was I was talking to Red X from New Generation, and he said that they saw the mistakes in their gameplay. That 2 of the players are definitely nervous and a little bit stressed because it's their first PMCO, but they know
Mm-hmm.
what they need to do. And they feel a lot more prepared coming in today's game. So I really love the kind of, not that I love it, but I love that he recognized that stress element of the player's first PMCO, because that can and will affect their performance when they're coming into a tournament like this and it's their first time.
So talking about stress element, I'm thinking back to my very first competition that I played. I've been competing in PUBG Mobile for
That
like a
was
grand
about
total of
15 years ago now, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, it was a really long time ago, and I kid you not, the very first like big tournament that I played in,
yeah,
let's take a LAN experience for example. The very first time I flew out for competition, I went to LA. The nervousness I had there was my hands were shaking like when I was holding the phone screen. And that's a far cry difference to like fast forward like my third or fourth time at a global championship or even playing from online. Like it was completely different. It was nervous energy, but it was excited nervous energy. So when you said some of these
yeah.
players are competing in their very first PMCO, that nervous energy can easily be working in the complete wrong way throughout the whole day, throughout all the matches. And the mindset when something goes bad, you can't help but to just feel even worse. And so I've been there. I felt that. So for all the first time competitors here, like I know how it is, but if it's your first time and you fail, get up and try again. Day 2, it's a new day for these, or day 3, but essentially everybody's day 2. It's a new day for them. I hope they can come back stronger.
110% wise words come from a veteran of PUBG Mobile. Let's have a look at the overall standings, see exactly where some of these teams lie so we can provide a little bit more context. The first page, the top 8, the Giants, who've really impressed us in their first 4 games. You said it, 4 Romanian boys, 1 point ahead of Tip Top Esports.
Yeah, only 1 point. That is after 4 games where both of these teams showed out in their respective days. A 1 point difference? That is crazy. The thing that stands out to me, though, is Romanian boys. They had 2 chicken dinners you see on the screen. Tip Top only
Yeah.
had one. So theoretically, for Romanian boys with 2 chicken dinners, should be more than just 1 point, at least like couple points ahead of the second place team with 1 chicken. So consistency does come into question looking at those stats. But talking about consistency, La Familia in third place, they are not playing today. But look at that, 0 chicken dinners and holding a third place spot. It's all about that consistency after we play more and more days and more games for these players.
Bruh, like they they got 10, 19, 16, and 10 in their first 4 games points wise from La Familia. Yeah, incredible. But another team on a bit of the same echo that are playing today in 6th place is Sorry for Skill. They had a really good day yesterday, plus a level of evolution in their results across the board. 8, 13, 15, and 11. You kind of can't ask for a better start. And let's head on over to the second page.
Taking a look at the second page, the teams that are playing today out of the second page is Rexpect, New Names, and Quattro Fakers. These are the 3 in the middle of the pack competing today.
Yeah.
I'm looking more towards Rexpect to see if they fixed up their close range. Let's head into the next page to see who else is playing today.
Yeah, we kind of went from spending a good bit of time on the top 8 to now kind of rushing through the lobby. That's because the game's starting. We're about to get into it. I know. You want to see the action. So do I. But of course, man, the teams that are in the in kind of the third page, as I said, a few of these teams, defeaters most notably, they're probably going to be the ones I'm going to be looking out for the most to improve, as well as MDC. Let's head on over to the last page. These are the teams that are scraping at the bottom of the barrel. Couldn't have had a worse start to this PMCO. And Entropic, they're the team that really stands out to me.
MF, 7 Cents, Entropic, Deuce, and Conqueror. Those are the teams playing out on the last page today.
Yeah, it's pretty kick-ass. As I said, 4 games to go. We're heading over to Erangel for game number 1. PMCO EUS is brought to you by the wonderful folks over at Xiaomi. You, yourself, yes you, I'm talking to you, even you, Zute, can enjoy super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. And these players have got to get, their own lag out of the way, right? The arms shaking, the knees are weak, the palms are sweaty. Hell, even their mom's spaghetti. Get that out of the way and just get ready to get into these games. Clear your head, clear your mind, and just be so focused on what's in front of you.
Yeah, talking about focus, Erangel is coming up. The map that requires the rotations, the positioning, the focus of these players better be on point. Let's see what we got in store for game number 1.
The plane is whizzing, it's whirling on by. It seems like we're starting over from the north, heading through the lovely area of Stalbar, going roughly right through the middle. This is a decent plane path.
Plane path is looking good. The teams are looking good. There's so much on the line today. I mean, we already talked about it in the pre-show, but I just want to bring it up again. We have 5 out of the top 32 teams today. So we will see a lot of strong teams playing it out. And then, yes, we also have 5 out of the 7 bottom 32 teams. But what makes today super exciting for me for those teams is that today is their comeback day. So they, on paper, on stats, might not look like strong teams, which might not make for as intense action. But it's the fact that it's their comeback day, right? Their second day out of the 3. That alone, mentality-wise, we don't know how that pressure is going to affect these teams. Some of these teams might just really, pop off. Today's a day. They know they need to do well, or it's almost done and out for them. So they might just really show up and take us by surprise. And the first circle coming up onto your screen right there, pretty standard, centralized on the southwest a bit. Some of Military Island is in, but we have yet to see any crazy hardships towards that way. And so this game is going to be looking like a pretty standard game as no teams are dropping on each other.
And I'm kind of curious to see how aware Quattro Fakers and MF are of each other's drop spots, because that Stallbar Mountain is pretty big, so it can often be hard to maybe see where another team has dropped on by. And that's interesting that Mega Power and 4 Romanian boys fought over a vehicle. And the reason why I think that's interesting, because normally Mega Power, who like to drop in Pachinki, that they didn't just directly go there and then think of a vehicle later on, that they tried to be proactive and get an initial vehicle to use and then loot up Pachinki. It just hasn't worked out for them this game.
Well, I mean, you want to know why? They are traumatized by, I keep talking about it. They're traumatized.
Here we go.
By the tricycles. I liked seeing that, though. I didn't pay too close enough attention on the first day that they played. If they dropped outside of Pachinki for the cars and then went in.
I don't think they did,
but you saw it this game. Yeah, I kind of remember on the minimap, they kind of just started in Pachinki and then ran out for vehicles, and all they kept finding were tricycles. So this time around, they were dropping outside of Pachinki. At least some of the players split up to pick up cars. Problem is, 4 Romanian boys took one of them. Luckily for that player that missed out on the car, though, he did not get run over. So we're starting the game off strong with all 64 players alive. No crazy action just yet, but it is sure to heat up very soon.
And I also got to give a little bit of respect to 4 Romanian boys there, because it's very easy to get distracted at the thought of getting a technically free kill when you get a car before someone and obviously they don't have a vehicle. But I think he recognized that there's no point in wasting time. Better off just joining up with the rest of the team, starting their looting phase, because that means their rotational timing is going to be a little bit quicker and it's just better focus. So I've really got to give a bit of respect to 4 Romanian boys in that moment.
I mean, they did so well when they played. Their first place overall was 64 points, and we didn't see them do any crazy like early fighting. They dedicate themselves to that split loot, which they're doing once again. And so when you're doing a split loot, timing is everything, because the huge advantage of split looting is that you can rotate fast. You don't have a lot of buildings to cover. Everyone has their own section. So, of course, there is a chance at running a player over for a kill, but then you lose your advantage of a fast rotation timing from your split loot. So I like they prioritize what they've been doing, what has been working for them, and not getting distracted, just like you said, Imperium. So that does show a lot of experience right there.
New names looting up Rozhok. Currently in 13th with 32 points so far in their first 4 games. That's a good average. It's a healthy average. But if you're going to really secure that top 15, it needs to be a little bit higher.
Of course. And speaking about a little bit higher, Deuce on the screen right now, they need to get it way higher. They're currently 29th out of the 32 teams with only 9 points. The one shining hope for them, though, when I watched them play yesterday, was that towards the last 2 games, they realized they weren't doing too well, and they just started playing aggressive. They went for the fights, and they were winning their fights. Out of the 9 points they have, 8 of them are kill points. So they can fight. They just need to work on their rotations, and maybe sometimes, hey, if your strong suit is fighting, just commit to a fight and don't try any fancy rotations and ending up losing players or putting yourself in a bad spot. We'll see what their game plan is for today. It might switch up or it might stay the same. We have yet to see, as MF driving on by for their rotation, passing by Defeaters. I think that player spotted him out, hops in the car, calling out to rest of teams as Defeaters is just one player here up in the north of Severny.
I think that's good from MF. They recognize that a team like to drop in Severny with the plane path. There's a higher chance the team would have been there. So really going on to the coastline on that rotation makes sense. I would like to have seen them maybe rotate a little bit more together. So less focused on one specific vehicle. But for the most part, it's a good awareness from MF, and even they get out of vehicles by the side of the hill just to scout around the Severny area. I think that's really good stuff from MF to kick off this day one. Of course, the blue zone is starting to close in. We're halfway through. What kind of areas and positions of this phase one circle are you looking at teams to locate themselves in to at least try and prepare for phase two, phase three in a much easier way?
Well, if we're talking about the best position in phase one circle, I think Mega Power has they drop Pachinki, the center of the map. So rotation wise, they have the fastest rotation. They have their pick of where they want to go, and they are holding the most center high ground there is, south of Pachinki on top of the mountains. But tip top, this team, we saw the aggression out of them on day number one. And if they're like other Chinese teams that I watch play in the Chinese league, one knock equals a push. And this is it. This is a staple Chinese execution. One knock, full push, we're wiping this team out. But do they have the execution to win this fight? We'll see, as QR are getting a reset on their knock player.
Well, technically, you know, they're going up against a somewhat, at the moment, a weaker team in the PMCO, Conquer Romania, currently lying 30th, the lowest position team in this lobby. So if there's a way to pick up a few kills, it's definitely gone up against this team for the time being. But the revive has been laid out, so we're back into a 4v4. And what I like about Conquer Romania's position is that they have multiple houses occupied, so the angles from specifically WZ, I think, is very valuable to them pushing back tip top.
Yeah, Conquer Romania. Here it shows why being split in a defense is good, even when your team is the first team to receive the knock. You can see how difficult it is for Tip Top to capitalize more, as the spread defense is already there out of Conquer Romania. And the reason why I mentioned the Chinese teams for the viewers that are watching is because if you guys did not know, Tip Top, all 4 of their players are Chinese. So they probably study the Chinese scene as well, and the playstyle, it looks to be pretty similar.
Phase 2's popped up, and it's a very tricky shift. Now, Shoot for Skill, the team that they complimented from their first games, are still a military island, and the last time we had a bit of a situation with that was the Noisy Boys, but they did make it across on phase 2 fairly easily. I'm hoping it's going to be the same for Shoot for Skill, but look at this. Every single team reacting very quickly to this kind of circle shit. We're going to be looking for the ferry pier positions. You're going to be looking for the hill to the north, but who's going to get there first? Who's going to be able to control it? Who's going to capitalize on teams rotating a little bit blindly into this phase 2?
Phase 2, that circle shift goes down to the south. So Military Island is still in. It does cut off a lot of land for some of these teams to rotate, because no one is probably going to rotate and set up in Military Base. So even though we're in the second circle, teams are getting very congested here. We see Entropic scouting out. They just saw Tip Top take that compound down towards the south. Tip Top, that player is in the open, taking shots at another vehicle driving by. Does not get knocked though, but the rotations, we're going to see some casualties here.
Yeah, Tip Top taking advantage of the fact that they got there first. Conquer Romania are going to really use as much of the coastline and the mainland as possible while in Tropic, and it's nice to see that they're still not afraid to take some shots. But George, you're a little bit exposed out in the open. Takes a bit of damage. And for Entropic, by the way, I noticed that they are using a different roster. Sans said that was going to be the case. Hopefully that results in better results, while the feeders getting the picket litter against 4 Romanian boys, looking to slow them down. Paco doing what he can while Savage X holds onto one angle. He's going to get knocked down by Redox, the current kill leader of the PMCO lobby. As Alicio trying to deal with Paco, but the drop shot works out. He's on a silver belt, confirms the kill, makes sure that he gets the point for his team, because this fight is definitely not one and done for 4 Romanian boys.
4 Romanian boys, if you play that fight back, it looked like they were on the disadvantage. Defeaters kind of had them surrounded and trapped in, but of course, 4 Romanian boys, they are not first place without a reason. They had such great defense
True.
there, and they ended up picking up 3 kill points for themselves. They do lose 1 player, though, and I do believe they're going to look for that 4th kill, and Styles,
Oh, no.
he realizes this. He is trying to eject out of there as fast as he can.
Let's get out of here. Boom. Styles stays alive as a solo. Great fight from 4 remaining boys. Great turnaround. You said it correctly in terms of the fact that they were kind of initially looking like the team at a big disadvantage point. But one thing that I noticed while that kind of fight was breaking out is Qilin went to pull out a very similar rotation as they did in one of their Erangel games on day 1 by rotating into Military Island. But what they didn't account for is teams already being either there or outside of there, and it was MDC and Rexpect. So they only lost 1 player, but it is still something that maybe they should have been a little bit more considerate of because of the playing path that we did see. It's look, you're never always gonna stop yourself from getting caught out, but hopefully they'll remember that for future Erangel games.
I've noticed in this PMCO, there is more than one team that like using Military Island to rotate to the other side of the main island. They don't want to go through that traffic, but that is definitely something to take note of for these teams, as they might just end up running into each other. The new zone up on your screen, that's a hard shift to the very west side. Who is going to take those bunkers that we saw the team from, I believe it was yesterday, take that ended up with a lot of position points and kill points? It is wide open. A lot of these teams probably think it's taken. There might be a chance, Imperium, that nobody even goes there, and it's just going to be a pocket open in the middle of the zone.
Well, it may have hard shifted again, but at least it's hard shifted in technically the same direction and predominantly on the mainland. So we're not going to have that kind of water Military Island, oh, where is it going to go element for these teams. Or there's a lot more clarity on board, even though it's not the nicest of hardships. Of course, what I like is that Shifra Skill, who stayed in Military Island on phase 2, recognizes that their rotation, if they went to go for the Western Bridge on phase 3, is pretty much a no-go. So they're opting to go back into the blue and rotate and wrap around the Eastern Bridge. To me, although I would have preferred to see them rotate to mainland on phase 2, it's a good adaptation.
Yeah, good adaptation, but I'm looking at the mini-map right now. I think it's too late for them. They've actually turned back around, and they're going for that Western Bridge. So it's there were 3 teams that were thinking to use a Military Island rotation, but that hard shift really threw them off. It went the complete up their way, and a bridge camp at this point in the game would be so deadly for them. So everybody just kind of going whichever way to readjust. Tip Top also try and readjust after one of their players got knocked. And Conquerors, this team is the 30th place team, and they got 1 knock onto a player, and they're pushing back. This is what I'm talking about, Imperium. Oh, they just got a second knock. This is on to Tip Top, the 2nd place team in the leaderboards, fighting the 30th place team. But this is exactly what I was saying. When your back is against the wall and you're really having to, prove yourselves on your comeback day, you don't know what these bottom leaderboard teams have, and they could take out Tip Top right here.
They're not able to push on it. Bit of a shame. Bogdan maybe a little bit too far back. Shots are being fired up by CPDD. Believe it or not, CPDD is actually the 2nd highest damage player of this PMCO lobby for the time being, so he's definitely dangerous. Play zone is also starting to hurt these teams. We see the next shift go wild down south, 50% water play. We'll talk about that in a bit. And Conquer Romania, they realize they're better off just getting the hell out of there, but they're going to go out of one fight and most likely into another, because look how far they have to travel. What a game 1 to be had. Tip Top down to 2 players now, and the circle shifted as far as possible away from them. Tip Top not looking to have a good game, but the rest of these teams all in the south side, I don't know who's gonna have a good game with this circle. This is unexpected, to say the least. Yeah, definitely very tricky indeed. We see Shilin actually swam across from Military Island in towards a ferry pier. One of the Shifa skill players got in a boat, so he's been able to get there first. Mega Power pushing in for ferry pier compound, but you have MF already there. You have NG New Generation already there, so it's not going to be easy for them to deal with, but they get there with 3 players up. Can Kime hold on inside this warehouse building? Fella Rex lodges down on towards the below area while Blind and his teammate hold on to the top spot. Now an off-angle player from NG could make a bit of a difference, but I can't think that he's going to be able to get there in time, and that's where the push has been able to be pulled in with a lovely nade.
The defense out of this team is too split and very pure. When they saw that circle shift, they should know everything is going to be crashed. They should have stacked up. MP Rex, what a lean peak. Just returning the fires one after. Hey, I wiped a squad. Who wants more? Takes a quick peek, knocks another one. Beautiful plays out of Mega Power. New Generation, though, yeah, they had 4 players up. They a little bit too greedy doing a 2-2 split when the circle is this condensed. And Lin, they had a boat. They boated over. No, actually, S4 was the team that boated over.
I think. Yeah, it was CLW. Yeah. I don't know how they allow Lin to get onto the rock side. Now it's come to bite them in the butt. CLW is having to go back into the water. And it's only a matter of time, to be fair, before he gets taken out.
Yeah, Xilan, Navy SEAL style. They must have snuck up. The other team was not ready for a team to come out from behind. Like, and Pierre, I wouldn't have expected either. That circle hard shift, you're on the pier, you think your back is safe, and then a 4-man team of Lin pop out of nowhere and just completely decimate the team. But these other teams on the land, on the flip side, are also decimating each other as that grenade comes in. Does not hit, but it looks like Deuce is looking to push this and secure the kills.
Jesh, who Chills is speaking highly of in yesterday's games, unfortunately has been taken out. Slyke cooks up 1 grenade, is going to cook up another that will most likely connect, and knock comes through. Chills, I don't know what he has to try and heal up. Well, another one is going to be breaking out, and that's going to be, of course, Conquer Romania out of this lobby in 15th. 14 teams, that's 37 players. Nice to see Deuce Gaming playing quite confidently on the edge of circle as they turn on over to MDC, and that is some beautiful SLR shots from Slyke.
Hey, Deuce, I love what I see. 29th out of 32, but with 4 kills already and taking shots. This is what they needed. They needed to just get into the fights, and they are winning their fights. 5 kills now. They got the gunpowder. They also got that new zone shift. The zone does shift on to land away from the water. There's a sliver of water left, but the northwest, that's where all these teams are looking to migrate now. And Very Pier, this is a difficult rotation out of Very Pier, past all these teams in front of you.
Mega Power, New Generation, new names, Rexpect, 4 teams, 1 position on the eastern edge of the circle. We talked about how Salazar and the rest of the Rexpect side can kind of struggle in this close quarter combat fight. So now is the time they need to pick it up, but it hasn't worked out. Bardot and Pappy have been knocked down. New Generation dealing with that one quite nicely. Just 1 player left from the Spanish side, and I don't get why all 3 weren't pushing together. You're in phase 5. You're fighting for the edge of circle. There's no point in going for any kind of split in my eyes, because you need to trade, and you need to trade hard. But now New Generation need to try and deal with new names. That's a lovely nade from Christo.
The battle of the news and the new names, they're getting the better end of the stick here, opening it up with that grenade. Do they recognize there's only 1 player left, though, as the rest of New Generation is dead? I don't think so. They're just going to prioritize the circle. They're going to pressure that team and ignore them. But Rex, you talked about this last player. The most he could hope for now, I would say, is a knock and a thirst. Sneaking into the edge on his own like this might work with the amount of chaos happening, but it is risky.
He only has 2 first aids as well, so he's not really going to be able to sustain too much of that blue zone. I like the fact that new names recognize that they can't really go directly into the edge of the circle. There's most likely going to be a team there, so they have to be a little bit unorthodox, and indeed it works out. But Salazar, he may be inside the blue. You talked about the best that he can hope for is a knock and a thirst. Well, he's gotten 2 knocks, but he gets taken out. The hands of the play zone goes down in a blaze of glory, and new names, they are going to be the ones that are going to suffer at the hands of that, as Xilin, they're going up against 4 Romanian boys. 4 Romanian boys, they haven't faced up against both Xilin and Tip Top. But right now, out of those 3 teams, they're the ones that are coming out on top. 8 kills for the Romanian side.
4 Romanian boys. They defended a 3v4. If you remember, they lost 1 player earlier to defeaters, and they just went against Xilin, another top dog team, and they won that defense 3v4. Also, shout outs to their positioning. 4 Romanian boys all the way down there, Fairy Pier, when they got caught in a fight with defeaters. Amazing rotation skills, prioritizing great spots in the zone, and the next circle comes up. It is close enough to 4 Romanian boys for them to scout out the next section they want. But as for these other teams, oh, dude, it is all-out chaos right now. I don't know who is going to take this one out, as new names fighting with MF 4v4 situation. As new names got that full reset. Virus pushing off over.
Yeah, considering MF had the edge of the circle, I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't been a little bit more aggressive and that they maybe allowed new names to get a little bit too close. They're still winning it, but at what cost? Christo's last player up, Nader, takes a good bit of damage. Dominovsky's going to join him inside the buggy. They're going to move in with Feroz and leave this fight, but they're broken. They're beaten up. Feroz gets out. He's going to start taking shots with the DP-28. Goes in blind. Nader's going to deal with that one quite nicely. And oh my lord, down goes MDC. 6 teams left, 17 players.
Almost all of these teams have rotated into this new circle, and the carnage is 360 all around very easily. Another team might be taken out before we move on to the next circle shift. MF down to 1 player, wants to go for the revives on these players. He has the smokes, but can he run across in the open without being spotted?
I can't help but feel that that's just too much of a bait. We'll have to wait and see. 4 Romanian boys, they got taken out. Maybe they went for the edge of circle just a little bit too much. But again, this kind of circle, there's little to no cover on board. It's all beach, it's all sand, it's all death and blood inside this phase 6 circle. Entropic, credit where it's due, a much better start to their second set of games. They're into the top 4 and they have a full squad up. I talked about their weakness in previous tournaments where they go into the late game with only 1 or 2 players up. Well, this is a different story.
Completely different story. 6 points already. Yesterday, or not, in the very first day, they had 9 points in 4 games. Now, they already have 6, and that's not even including the placement points they've secured with at least a top 4 finish. But I believe they could do better with 4 players alive, looking strong. The only 4-player team left on this map.
Well, the players are knocked in now. They're down to 3. That's 1. Confirmation Slight has been enagamous in this game. 7 kills so far for him alone. Deuce Gaming are juicing up in this game number 1. Still 4 teams left alive. The phase 7 circle has shifted back down, luckily in the favor of Entropic. So that's going to put a little bit more pressure on the Deuce. As Mega Power, they move into the eastern edge. They go ahead of MF, but do they know that MF is there?
The 2 teams not yet in the zone. These are the teams that have the biggest challenge ahead of them. Deuce and the team of MF. We see the smokes coming through. I don't think anybody even has vehicles at this point, as most of it was blown up or lost in the fights. I mean, it's looking pretty dire for the teams outside the circle, as everybody else is looking outside to farm them right now.
I was gonna say, there's like 0 utility out there. I don't know if it's all being wasted because of the crazy circles that we've had so far, but Slyke, no better man to come up on the kill feed once again, picks off Dominovsky, leaves MF with just 2 players left up. Feroz Sorry, should I say Natus trying to do what he can. Fearless takes a couple of shots in towards the members of Mega Power. They may be in the circle, but one nade, maybe two, could be the end of Mega Power, but they're dealing with them with their bullets. They're not allowing those nades to go out, and they take down MF. That's where the circle edge comes to your advantage, and they're even going to get the revive on the fella.
It's going to come down to a 3v2v2, but I do think one of Deuce was knocked. Deuce is actually out. Now we're down to a 2v3. Deuce finished the game off with 19 points, though. Slyke popping off, but this 2v3 situation, Entropic needs this more than anybody else right now.
Chill said to me that it was going to be a better day today. They hoped for the best, but it's been a good start. Same for Entropic. New roster for the boys in this first game of the day, and it's worked out in their favor, while Mega Power just continuing to ramp up their own performance throughout this PMCO. Phase 8 has gone in the favor of the Mega Power side, so the two-man team of Starkey and Sands are going to have to find any kind of angle into this circle. Time's ticking down, 30 seconds until the blue zone starts to move, but I like the fact that Mega Power are spreading themselves out a little bit to make sure they have the control and not letting Entropic inside.
Entropic, they need at least one knock to have a chance at breaking it in, but it goes the opposite way. Oh, Starkey does get the trade knock, but it's still a man disadvantage for Entropic. Does he have what it takes? Does he have the aim to get one more knock here, changing it down to a 1v1?
It's going to be tough. That trade massively helped his efforts. Brawling in, Rex has it covered. He's looking for the confirmation onto Logis. So, of course, every bullet, every noise made is exposing his own position as he gets closer to the edge of the circle. The blue zone is engulfing him. He does connect onto Rex, forces him back down. Can he get to the tank? If he can get to the tank, that's a low ground dip. He has to take a couple of shots. He does feel the burn of the shots from Rex. A grenade is flying out. They know they have them covered. A nade, a push. Fella God is going to drive on by. That's going to be the job done. And that is Mega Powers taking the chicken dinner on game one.
Mega Power. I talked about them yesterday. Whoever drops middle of the map for all the three maps, that shows they have the cojones, you know, they have the confidence. Hey, we're center map. And look, Mega Power, I mean, that crazy zone shift, I don't think any team could have prepared for it, no matter where they dropped. But Mega Power closing that one out. On the flip side, though, Entropic, shout outs to them. They came in today with only 9 points after 4 games. I think they just nabbed themselves 20 points in a single game today. So they're looking good for the rest of the games today.
They were, like, I know for a fact that Entropic were devastated over their day one performance. Sands was like, it couldn't have gone worse. They know that they choked, but they certainly didn't choke in this game one. Let's have a look at the match ranking and how these teams fared up. Mega Powers dealing with it all so nicely. 9 kills, 24 points in total with those 15 placement points. But you can see quite a few teams, the top 5 all got double digits.
Yeah, double digits. Some of the top teams just padding their points, but some of the bottom teams like Entropic and Deuce only had 9 points just as well, same as Entropic, and they get 20 points for Entropic, 19 for Deuce. The comeback day, it's happening for some of them, but a few of the other teams that's supposed to have their comeback day, not just yet. I mean, it is only one game. There's 3 more games to go before Romanian boys in 4th place. They're securing their first place position right now over the likes of Tip Top.
Yeah, out of the kind of the top 4, so to speak, 4 Romanian boys definitely making the cut above all of those teams. So that's really nice to see them come through. I also want to give a massive shout out to MF Esports because they were coming into today's games on joint 26th to 27th place with 7 sins, and they got a fantastic boost with 11 points in that game. And even new names, a little bit of technically not a boost because they were lying on an average of 8 points per game. And yeah, okay, they technically hit that average of 7 points, but remember what I said about really wanting a bit more to massively secure your place in the top 15, I need to see that extra boost from new names.
I agree. Just 2 more points on average per game really makes the difference. But let's take a look at the second page to see some of the teams. It's a new day for them. It is their comeback day or their day to prove their worth. Some of these teams, though, not really doing too hot. And oh wow, Tip Top not managing a single point. This is the complete opposite start they had to when they played. The first game they played the other day, they got the chicken dinner with massive amount of points, and now they have a big donut, 0 points.
Also not good for Respect and Sire for Skill as well. 2 1 points respectfully. Defeaters only getting 2 points, and Seven Sins EU. Like, I was talking to Klasa, and he said that they know bad decisions, bad tactics happened in the first 4 games, but they said that they prepare better and they analyze other teams. It hasn't shown in this game on. I hope it shows on the 3 remaining games, but considering they were coming into this game joint 27th, really not the way they wanted it to start.
It has to do with the zone shifts. I mean, we saw it by Circle 4. It was a zone that not even us casters were prepared for. I would highly doubt a lot of these PMCO teams were prepared for just as well. I mean, one thing I want to point out is there are quite a few bunkers on that beach side that I saw that weren't occupied. When I was watching PMPL level games with a similar zone shift, more of the beachfront property would have been taken. So that is a clear distinction of experience and skill between PMCO and PMPL. But hey, when one of these zones happen to you and you're playing in them, you for sure, when you go back to that VOD footage and look it back, like, there were 3 different bunker sets that were open. All right, guys, next time this happens, we're going straight there. So you live and you learn. This was a learning experience for a lot of these teams. But for the teams that came out on top, kudos to you guys. You secured points in one of the most difficult Erangel zone endings.
Yeah, couldn't have said that better myself. Well, there's 3 more games to go. Let's take it to a break, and we'll be back on your screens in a couple of minutes. We are back. PMCO EU full split. Group stage day number 3. We've had one game. It's been an absolutely crazy game, Zute. But before we go into the overall standings, I really want to break down that kind of game 1, the crazy circle shifts. Of one team that you said really dealt with it fantastically was 4 Romanian boys.
Oh, 100%. We saw 4 Romanian boys probably take one of the earliest team fights in the game on the kind of northern edge of the zone against the feeders. And they lost a player. They were down to 3 people. And then we saw that crazy circle shift. I completely forgot about 4 Romanian boys looking at that circle. So many teams had to migrate down there. And then the next time we see them, they're on the hard southern side of the beach and defending a 3v4 against Chi Lin. What really stands out to me with that is the decisiveness. They just lost the player. They're on the hard northern side where they lost that player. And then the circle hard shifts all the way down to the south. You don't get down to those rocks next to the beach by mistake when you're all the way up there. That is a decisive rotation call out when that hard shift came through. I would not be surprised if within the first 5 seconds of that crazy shift that no one was prepared for, the IGL of 4 Romanian boys, he dedicated himself to that position. And I've seen so many high-level PMPL teams in a similar zone. Usually the top PMPL teams are usually the ones I see end up in that position as well. So that was really great to see out of the 4 Romanian boys.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Let's have a look at the overall standings to see how the result of the game 1 has affected a few of these teams and where they place, how safe they look, how not safe they look. Of course, 4 Romanian boys, what a distinctive push they have, still holding on to that first place. But now instead of it being a 1-point lead, it's an 11-point lead. However, this time, it's over Mega Power. 2 chicken dinners in this PMCO. 69 points, my favorite number.
69 points. As much as 69 points is great, it is not enough points to take first place. So I'm sure Mega Power, their next goal after hitting 69 is to get past 4 Romanian boys. But Tip Top dropping down into 3rd. They came in today wanting to take first place back, but that was not the game for them to start it off.
One thing that I just have to point out, though, with regards to the top 2 is the fact that 4 Romanian boys, they have more kill points and placement points, which I think is amazing. But with Mega Power, one thing, if there's going to be a tiny bit of a criticism, is their balance of placement points to kill points. I would like to see that a little bit closer in terms of a few more kill points. And then I definitely feel a lot better of their position in the overall standings.
100%. Before we head into the second page, I want to add a note onto that. Mega Power, they drop center of every map. So it's no surprise their rotations are getting them more placement points than kill points. But let's take a look at the second half of the rankings, and we'll get a look at what teams did not have or need to do better with their overall points.
New names, 13th. New generation in 15th. We're expect in 11th, but still an extra game. Let's move over to the third page so we can really see how much of a difference has been made, because I think we'll notice Deuce Gaming and Tropic, they've jumped up into the third page, 19th and 17th, respectfully.
Yeah, and let's take a look at the last page. Most of these teams are on the last page because they have not played their games today. But 2 teams that have played their 5th game is Seven Sins and Conquer Romania. At the window of opportunity is getting short. These guys really need to pick it up in this Sanhok match.
Yeah, and Sanhok is definitely going to be a bit of a crazy map to deal with. But I tell you what isn't crazy. Our fantastic sponsors over at Xiaomi. You yourself, talk about you, even me, even Sparky the Unicorn, can enjoy a super fast and lag-free Pubg mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. I'm telling you, man, Sparky's a better Pubg mobile player than me. Zutai, like, just watch out. Next PMCO, you're going to see Sparky the Unicorn dominate the lobbies. Sanhok, it's a different beast to deal with. Anything kind of specifically you're maybe looking out for?
Well, yesterday we had a lot of teams hot drop each other. I believe there were 3 different fights, 2 to 3 different fights happened. So this Sanhok, it's a new mix of teams. You have top end heavy teams and bottom side heavy teams. They might clash. I don't know how the drops are going to go, but it should work out. These teams had footage to study. So I hope there's some hot drop action, but we'll see very soon as we head into this match of Sanhok.
The playing path is coming up on our screens. I'll tell you one thing that I really would love to see. As much as I have loved the normality of a mainland circle finish in Sanhok, I really want to see that Northwest massive Chungus Island finish and how these teams are going to deal with it. I know that's a little bit evil, especially off the back of some crazy circles in game 1, but it's something that I would personally like to see.
Crazy circles. Somebody comes out on top, at least. It might be difficult, but there's always going to be a team that comes out on top. So maybe we'll see that circle on the northwestern side. Yesterday, though, we did get a boot camp ending. It ended dead in the middle of boot camp. So that was also fun to see. I wouldn't mind seeing one of those again. But wherever the circle goes, it is Sanhok. The rotation options are limited. The fight priority is heavy as we see 2 teams drop on the far south side. We have Rex and 7S, and I think that's a split drop committal to a fight. It looks like they're trying to figure out who's going where, and it looks like they're spreading out. So they are going to give up that position down there.
This is the first time that these 2 teams are meeting in the lobby, so that kind of makes sense. That's a little bit kind of maybe confusing for both teams. What I find interesting is that MF are committing to a similar drop to what they pulled off in yesterday's Sanhok game with Shilin. Both of these teams were in the same lobby, so I would argue that MF should possibly adjust their drop spot a little bit. Like, surely you got to agree that even just moving a little bit up north to Kampong isn't really going to ruin your rotation path line, and it'd be a lot safer than going up against Feeling in the early game.
Yeah, MF are really split. MF, one of their players are all the way at the docks, and the other 3 are kind of caught here that you see on the screen. Player at the docks, there's a timing for him to flank Shilin, but it's going to take a while. Shilin, on the meanwhile, very aggressive team. They're not afraid to push out. And MF caught between 2 teams. Tip Top in front of MF, and then Shilin behind MF. Kampong would have been much, much better to drop at.
And even Tip Top getting involved as well. They're on a kind of cave side of this southern area of the map, and Dominovsky is going to feel the wrath of that one. Maybe Shilin recognizes that it's a bit too risky to push this fight because of that third party. That makes sense. Again, they got to think 2 minutes left until the blue zone starts closing in on this phase 1. Maybe better to prioritize position in this circle, because this phase 1 is definitely not easy to deal with, as it does encapsulate all 3 areas of the map.
Definitely not. This fight also is taking on the edge of the southeast zone. And we saw yesterday Tip Top on Sanhok. When it's not a favorable circle for them to get to center, they will camp out the edge of zone and go for those kills. So MF, it is not looking too good for them. This player does have a DBS and a level 3 vest. If a clutch comes out, that's going to do it with on Sanhok, and that's a level 3 vest.
I like the fact that you notice that. Now, it's only a level 1 helmet, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but he moves out maybe a little bit too early. It doesn't help that there was 2 to 3 tip-top players, so trying to track those footsteps is obviously a lot harder. Good push from Tip-Top as a duo just to really secure those shots, while New Generation and Mega Power, the winners of the first game, they're fighting outside of boot camp with Logist and Fella God a little bit far apart from each other, but they do have the support of their teammates.
I love the positioning of both these teams. Mega Power, they drop boot camp, right? So they want that fast rotation up to the hill. New Generation,
lovely.
They dropped south. They dropped south of boot camp in a split, so they also want to prioritize that hill, and this is creating his first engagement out between those. So he really needs his knock. Logis gets the knock. It is a 3v4 situation. Mega Power, they gotta press that knock if they have any chance of taking the hill.
So that was like the easiest knock for Logis, to be fair. Red X was like peaking there for about 5 years, what felt like, but now Bangs is left on his own, and Rex realizes that he's going to push in. The revive is looking to be pulled off onto his teammate by the two players up on top of the hill. Blind takes his shots with the UMP, trying to give a little bit of time to Bangs as he does pull off a first aid. Mega Power need to gather the bones. They do have all three players up on this hillside by the buildings, but again, to me, New Generation, they do have a better position.
They definitely do. And that player on top of the roof is going to be the most difficult for them to deal with. Unless he has a grenade, it hits him down to half, but he gets hit down more by the bullets. A New Generation pressing the man advantage, getting the angles. Mega Power, you saw that scoping. They're aware of their weak side, but can they do anything about it?
MA looking for a really nice flank. It's not maybe in the best position, but I get the idea. You're going to get a little bit more information. I think Rete was a bit aware of that possibly going through and didn't want to get caught out, so moves closer to his teammates. That might allow the position to be more secured by New Generation. Have to wait and see how it pans out. But like I said, for the time being, New Generation do have a better position, but unless they push on it, they're technically a higher risk of getting third party themselves. The more noise that's being made as Rete misses that nade up on top of the roof.
That was a very risky nade. You saw when he hopped out, they do have lines of sight onto that window. And I think after that missed nade, they should really just play defensive. They're down a man. They're down the positional advantage. Force New Generation to push in and force them to take a defensive disadvantage on that push. And honestly, the longer they waited out in there, New Generation has a higher chance of getting third party than Mega Power.
And never mind the fact that at this point in the fight, New Generation are too heavily split in my eyes, because they can technically get picked off one by one, right? There's no real counter-fragging support, maybe from another angle, but there's a far less chance that if one of them gets knocked, the revive is going to be pulled out. So time's taken. New Generation, I feel like they should be a little bit more aggressive in that regard as a full team. Time will only tell if it works out. Either way, Phase 1 Blue Zone is starting to close in, and this area is in the center of the circle, and a few teams are definitely heading in this direction.
They are heading that way. One reason why I feel like New Generation is not pushing, though, is if you look at their loot, they're very underlooted. They went for that split drop here. You have Blind with no meds of any kind, just stuck at 60 HP, and his level 1 armor is really shot up. I understand why they don't want to push. They could very easily lose this fight, especially without any util. Breaching a compound, especially that building there, when Mega Power is just focused on the defense, it is really difficult to do with no util.
Deuce, they're heading towards the trifecta compound. You have Seven Sins still on the southwest island near Painan, so it's by the river, not really the worst place to be. Rex Spectre on the other side, and you have 4 Romanian boys on the North Painan Hill on the mainland, so they're in a really good spot. There's still a team outside of the circle in the blue. That is, of course, new name, but they're very close to the edge, so it's fine.
The next circle shift will really speed up the process of this game, but we've already had quite a few players go down. We went from 64 down to 57. We had multiple teams scrap it out, and that next circle shift, Deuce might end up running into New Generation, and they realize it. They got to speed up this fight if they want to secure the kill points. They have moved closer, and here is the utility I'm talking about. A Molotov comes through, does not connect. I think he wanted to bounce it off that window edge and get, is that Rate or P? Rate right next to there. But now the defense pushing is coming in, and they get the first knock. This is why pushing is so risky here. And the defense of the Mega Power, it is a 3v3 situation.
Nice by Blind, gets a knock, but at the end of the day, there's one left on his own. And Red X, he's on a sliver of health. He has to reload his gun, has no meds. It's do or die. He's not going to survive. I can't see it happening because at the end of the day, it's going to be Logis with good health, comes in, gets a clutch, and will get the revive on at least one of the players. New generation, the push was kind of there, but it just wasn't really executed.
They did not have the util. I saw one Molotov, and that's about it. And the amount of patience they had before committing to the push, you can for sure bet that they were discussing how to do it, what util they have, and they decided to go for the 4v3. It did not work out. They did pick up one more kill point, though, but Deuce, they heard those shots. They were watching the kill feed. Now, similar situation, but Deuce, more well-equipped, and there's only 2 players of Mega Power defending this time.
Mega Power's like, come on, give us a break, guys. Seriously, a bit of a blind nade being thrown up by Jesh. One thing that could help Mega Powers, to be fair, is Conquer Romania have moved into boot camp from that Northwest Island, so they could slow down Deuce or even third party should anything happen with these 2 teams. Phase 2 was pretty good for a bit of a mainland finish. Shoot for Skill are in a great spot. Entropic down to 2 players, but they do hold on to the western side of Quarry, so it's not too bad. And Shilin, they did move into that kind of Southwest Island position. And as you see this fight breaking out, Deuce are going to go in for a push, a much better push from Deuce.
Yeah, the third party you were talking about did come out. One of them did get knocked. That Molotov coming in huge. It's a 1v3 situation, and he realizes that he's going to press his advantage. Oh, did not expect Daddy to be behind the tree. And Deuce pick up the 2 kills and will get the full reset. They lose no players whatsoever. Round number 2 on that fight. I don't think Mega Power could pull it off that time around.
And New Generation will want to look back on this VOD and look at how Deuce Gaming engaged and realize that's how they need to do it in the future, right? That was so much more concise. You know, New Generation had the players, but they didn't really have the consistent flow of a push. Whereas Deuce, the second they entered anywhere near that building, they were like, okay, we need to push and shoot together as a team, and they had the angles they had to cover. Very nicely done indeed. Quattro force a lovely 4-man spread close by to shoot for Skill, but they have a lot of exit potential as phase 3 pops up, heads in their direction.
Phase 3 quarry zone on Sanhok. This quarry area is so tricky to navigate. You'll see a lot of teams just rat their way out in the quarry depths if the circle ends there, and it's looking like it will. Now, all the teams on the west side, they have to rotate in. We see Chilan on the south side doing the same. The west side of this circle, we're going to see way more fights break out as Deuce, Quattro, all these teams having to move in.
And Quarry is like so central inside this phase 3 that there's not even any real kind of, oh, is it easier to be on the eastern side? Is it easier to be on the western side? What you got to do is you got to pick one and commit to it. And commit to control and just hope that phase 4 heads in your direction.
Yeah, I love that point that you touched on, Corey. It may as well be water. That's what it's like to these teams. You can only pick one side, and if it goes to the other side, well, I mean, good luck, because the quarry battles are so difficult to navigate, and only one team is probably coming out up top there. Conquerors, though, here, taking shots, I believe, at Deuce, and more shots. Silk getting another knock. This player popped off in game number 1. Let's see if he can keep it going in game number 2.
A knock had actually come out once again onto one of the Deuce players, but they continue to get the revive on board. And like you said, Slyke getting a knock into the direction of Conquer Romania's players. With Bogdan down, fucking knocked. He's in with only 2 players up. 7 Sins are close by as well. A little bit more on the western edge of the circle. But Deuce, this is a revitalized team. This is a more confident team. This is a more teamwork-driven team. And to be fair, based on what Chill said to me, they have a better plan. Their decision-making is on board. And to be fair, I gotta give him credit for that.
Love to see it. The bounce back is real with this team. They are going for the fights too, which I love to see. I think they realized their strength towards the end of their first day was that, hey, we're winning these gunfights. These other teams are not better than us. If we see a chance to take a fight, if we have somewhat of an advantage, we go for it. And look at this. They're just gatekeeping out the rest of this team. And another knock comes out. Chills just picking up the scraps of Conquer. Conquer, I think, just down to 1 player now. And he is just hiding in boot camp.
Man, I've got chills. They're multiplying. And I'm losing control of how good Deuce are playing the games in this day 3 of the PMCO EU. Phase 4 pops up and it heads over to the western side of Quarry.
Oh, the warehouses. The warehouses make for such intense fights. But the next fight that's coming out, I see Tip Top right next to Rex right there. Tip Top on top of the hill defending against Rex. Now, Rex have been struggling with the close range, but this distance right here should favor Rex. They could work the long range, and I believe Tip Top, if I'm not mistaken, I only see 3 players of Tip Top alive, so it's a 4v3 situation. Rex really need to win this one out if they want to make it further into the circle.
They do indeed. Couldn't have said that better. Gotta take advantage of the extra body that they have on board. The thing is, they might not be aware that it's 4v3. That's something you, of course, have to consider. The new kill feed that was introduced last year is a little bit harder to read and keep an eye on. Stupid Pig and Cold around there. You have Killer on by. Nice angle shots from Respect. 3 players on one side, you have 1 holding another. This is really good positioning. But indeed, it's actually QL, Shilin, that comes into third party. Tip Top feels bad, man. Of course, Respect are going to take that, but they also need to consider that they can't go too aggressive on Tip Top.
So Chilen helping out with that one. Rex does manage to pick up the last kill. Now they're in zone. Chilen also in zone. Chilen might just be looking up Rexpect's way. They do have a motorcycle. They could very well use that to rotate straight into those quarry warehouses I was talking about earlier. But on the flip side of things, 4 Romanian boys looking strong, rotating in, fighting as they're rotating in. The confidence out of this team right now at an all-time high.
Kalasa looking to pull out a smoke to keep himself alive. They'll provide a bit of cover, but they know that he's there. Wix moves down, looking to run and gun. Ed, WS from Conquer Romania is going to get taken out. This is where phase 4 between Papa Blue, between the teams on the edge of the circle, really start to feel the burn, feel the pressure, and down goes 7 Sins EU. Once again, 4 Romanian boys picked up one of those kills, and they have the western edge of the circle on their side.
The western edge might really play into favor as we see the next circle shift. A hard shift towards the east will just be so difficult for everybody. Conquer Romania, they never dealt with this last player that was hiding in boot camp, and it comes back to haunt them as he knocks Chills. And that zone shift, oh boy, Imperium. Game 1, we had a pretty difficult circle. Game 2, it does not stop here. Another circle that is very unorthodox for these teams to navigate.
Why do I feel that I'm going to get blamed and roasted in the EU Discord server for that circle shit? And honestly, I'm totally okay with that, because this is beautiful, baby. Rexpect pushing, Entropic are dealing with that quite nicely. Sohn picks up 2 kills for that. Thank you very much. Take care then. Bye-bye now. Deuce down to 2 players. Chills got revived up. They aren't actually too far away from the circle, but the fact that Shoot for a Skill as a full squad are in front of them is not going to be easy to deal with. Quattro Force as well on that northern side, while MDC, they're doing what they can to get involved in this fight. But Papa Blue, in the words of Mustache Dave, is looking to, of course, put even more pressure on these teams.
Papa Blue or the hailstorm of bullets at your face. Pick one. You are probably not going to make it either way, so you may as well go down fighting as the grenades coming in. Sorry for Skill, they have a good rotation in, but this is the problem with Sanhok. Getting shot in the back by the blue, getting shot in the front by other players inside the zone, or you just die out to the blue. It is all out chaos. This is what Sanhok is known for, and the next circle comes up before even half of these teams have made it in, and that circle shift just as crazy, just as wild. 4 Romanian boys, they're stuck in the blue, but they can barely make it in if they just press a little bit further.
Oh, beautiful play by Christie of Quattro Forces, but as the blue zone hits him, it does enough damage to knock him down, and now Quattro Forces are left with the solo player. Fierce is going to, of course, confirm that kill. I don't know if he's going to be able to get the revive on his teammate. Is it even worth it at this stage of the game? Entropic go down, 6 teams left, but only 13 players alive. Is Shoot for a Skill. Besso, the IGL with Kalu Animal left up for the Romanian side. They had a good set of games on their first 4, but it wasn't a good start in the first game of the day today. Looking to make the most of it in this crazy Sanhok quarry finish.
4 Romanian boys, they are looking strong though. They have that edge of zone, and it's the high ground that they could shoot into Quarry. Plus, they have 4 players alive. The only other team with 4 up is the Defeaters, but they are fighting into the low ground, and they still have teams to deal with. And just as I say that, another player goes down for the Defeaters.
2 names are eliminated. 4 teams left. And out of those, 9 players are alive. 4 of them are just all belonging to 4 Romanian boys. 5 kills so far for this team. Looking to capture their 3rd chicken dinner of this PMCO group stage. Style through the smokes, taking his time to try and pull off a revive. Shilin, credit where it's due to them on the south side. Bo, who is actually the 3rd highest kill leader of this lobby coming into today's games, is looking to rack up a few more into 4 Romanian boys. Got to deal with it. Bright cooking up a nade. Bo tries to do what he can to push back 4 Romanian boys over the crevice of the hillside as Redox goes on top of this small, tiny island to get a level of control on board.
Sheelan's doing what he can to keep back the 4 Romanian boys with his grenades, his Molotovs, but 4 Romanian boys are not letting up. The bullets do come out. He's taking that 1v1. The drop shot out of Bright. Beautifully played. This is a chance for Defeaters, though, to capitalize off a 3rd party.
But look at that. Wix, he has the off angle. He needs to jump down, though. I know he wants to hold on to the high ground, but I just don't think he's in a good enough position. Okay, the Defeaters are stuck in the corner, and 4 Romanian boys, they know that. They're going for the push. The Molotov's in play. Savage exit, jump shots. 1, 2, but 1 left of 4 Romanian boys. 2, 3 chicken dinners on board. Quattro Frumos performance. What confidence from 4 Romanian boys.
Oh, that was beautiful. I love how slow they played that towards the end. And then when they realized they had the full advantage, how decisive and quick that was. That was slow pace because there was multiple teams up. We still had Shilan up. They know if they, even though they had the man advantage on Shilan, you did not see a crazy push because they know if only one of them get knocked and they trade it, which is good, the 3rd party out of Defeaters could have won that. So they took it very slow against Shilan, cleared out Shilan, then knew it was a 4v3. Then they jumped the gun, and they really literally jumped over the guns of the feeders and shot down into them and made that was almost like a movie the way they finished that one out.
It was like you could slow that down and just kind of go, no, and just to be like a fantastic scene from an action film. And look, it's definitely difficult to analyze these games because of the crazy circle shifts. I think that's something that because you really highlighted it when we came back from the break, and I think it's important to once again caveat it for this game too. These circle shifts were not easy to deal with, and that's where I think it's just a little bit better to focus on individual performances, such as 4 Romanian boys. Even the defeaters, they were the only team that stuck to the eastern side of the quarry, and credit to them, despite it shifting to the west. I think it was on kind of phase 4, phase 5. They did get a second place because of it.
And I do think they did have to fight a few teams, definitely not as much as the western side where we saw where all the carnage was go down. That's where the camera was the whole time. The circle kept going to the east, and this Sanhok match, honestly, from my opinion, if you did not do well this Sanhok match, I wouldn't be too hard on yourselves. That circle was
definitely
it was something else.
It was something else. Just like the match rankings are something else, as you have looked to see who did do good and who did do bad. I'm still kind of blown away at the fact that 4 Romanian boys, out of their 6 games so far, they've gotten 3 chicken dinners. That's 50% return on investment. And with 10 kills, 25 points, are they just going to end up in the group stages on top? And will they be able to follow that up in the finals?
As far as group stage goes, I think they are going to end first place. You usually can't call a first place this early into the stage, but the way the 4 Romanian boys are looking and with the points they've accumulated so far, 50% winner chicken dinner rate. That is wild. I would bet money they would end up first place overall. Defeaters and Chilan also doing really well. Chilan working their way up there to one of the top teams coming into today. We can't count them out just yet. There is still a chance somebody's going to overtake 4 Romanian boys, but it is looking slim.
And because there was kind of, with the crazy circles, it's a little bit tougher to deal with maybe some controlling areas of the map. So you can see that the top 5 teams, or should I say, sorry, the top 4 teams, they were able to eke out a few extra kills, but that big difference because of the extra placement points, 8, 10, 12, 15, you see that then massive drop to new names, despite getting 6 placement points, that only 1 kill, it's 7 points. It's not bad, and it fits into their consistency, to be fair. But just in this specific game, you can see that this dispersion between 4th and 5th and down below.
Yeah, let's take a look at the second page to see how the other half is faring so far. And here you see MF Tip Top once again not having the game they would have liked. They did end up picking up 4 kill points at least, but that third party by Chilan did not give them a chance to fight. Mega Power, that this game is, we said we can't analyze too much with the crazy circles there, but Mega Power, one thing they could definitely analyze is the timing of that rotation up the hill. 2 teams both wanted that hill position. Mega Power just a tad bit late, and that really knocked them down in the terms of performance for Sanhok.
Yeah, that's a really fair point made, and I would even argue the same at Rexpect. To give them credit, they dealt with that engagement with Tip Top relatively nicely and benefited, of course, with Shilin's third party. But it was after that of going for essentially a desperate rotation into the warehouses, but not even as a full squad. And then they got taken down by the 2 Entropic players. That kind of thing shouldn't happen. And I'm kind of starting to question a little bit more of Rexpect's ability to turn something that might not look the best into something good. It seems like it needs to really go their way for them to get a good result.
Rec Spec still looking shaky, not yet proving they've made the adjustments needed, but they're not doing all too bad. But we did see such huge glimmers of shine from them. It's sad to see they're still looking a little bit dull. But we're gonna head over to a break. Maybe after the break, once we start playing maps like Miramar and Erangel, where it's more long range, they'll have their chance to shine. But stay tuned, and we'll have more action coming your way.
Welcome back. And I think if there's one thing to say about that Sanhok game is I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. My name is Imperium with the wonderful Zute. We've had 2 games down, 2 more to go. And things are certainly getting crazier in the Group A and Group C lobbies.
I'll tell you what's getting crazy. These circle shifts. These circle shifts, back to back crazy circles. I don't know how these teams are managing to make it towards the end game, but it is quite a sight to behold. I want to touch real quick for Romanian boys. Not only did they get the chicken dinner that last game, they broke 100 points. They have 105 points
Amazing.
in 6 games. That is more than 15 points average a game. That is more than a chicken dinner's worth of points a game.
Yeah, really, really good coming out from them. Fantastic performance, and we'll be able to kind of continue to speak more about them as we get into this game. Unfortunately, we don't have time to show the overall standings because it's 4 pages, but that means we're going to be getting into this game 3 fairly quickly. One more thing to note is that credit Deuce Gaming jumping up to 18th and Tropic jumping up to 16th. Yes, there's the fact that teams around them have played 2 games less, but it's nice to see that kind of jump up. But Respect are the team that I'm definitely kind of continue to be just a little bit more worried about, because although they've moved up into 10th overall in the standings, a good few of the teams around them have 2 extra games in front and really not that close. However, before we get into this game, the Pubg Mobile EU West Fall Split is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors over at Xiaomi. Enjoy a lag-free and super fast Pubg Mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. This time, not you, Zute. Sorry, everybody else, you're too good. You have to deal with all the other terrible devices. Sorry, man. Has to be done. Got to give others a chance.
Yeah. Oh, talking about giving others a chance. Right now, Miramar. This is the map that is the least chance giving. Should I say this? I've touched on it the past 2 days. Miramar takes the most amount of skill to play out.
Fair.
And 4 Romanian boys looking so strong right now. They won the chicken dinner the other day on Miramar too. Will they get back-to-back chicken dinners on Miramar? We'll just have to wait and see as we head straight into the plane.
Let's get this show on the road. We have the plane path. It's going from the east all the way over to the west. Pretty central. And look, let's be fair. The circles have been crazy, but the plane paths have been pretty solid for these teams. I'm pretty sure they would prefer it to be the other way around, but I'm trying to provide some form of silver lining for these teams.
Yeah, if you were to ask me, it's a good one. Would I rather have a really bad plane path with simple shifts, or I need to think about this one a little bit. I've never thought about it. What about you? Do you have a preference? Good circles or good plane path, if you can only pick one?
If I could pick one, I would overall pick good circles, because a really bad plane path, I think, if anything, can actually be a little bit more of an advantage to a more intelligent team, because they're able to be aware of the fact that it is going to cause a cluster of teams in some area of the phase 1, phase 2 circle. And of course, you're able to then focus and control a bit more into the late game. So to me, it would be simpler circles, wilder plane path.
Okay. I would have to agree with you. I think regardless of how late your rotation is, because you get to your loot spot late, the circles, there's a lot of circles. There's a total of 9 circles. And if all 9 circles are, I'm not going to say easy, so to say, but not crazy endings like we've seen in the past 2 games. Yeah, you can rotate it. You have time to figure out, your rotations by circle 3 and 4. But the first 2 games, man, those circle shifts, very difficult to figure out. And if anything, there's almost no figuring it out because so many teams just ended up having to slam into each other. And we're starting this match of Miramar with all 64 players alive. Everybody with that nice plane path has managed to find their own place to loot, and nobody is having to contest one another.
Yeah, Plain Path massively complements this phase one. Can't argue with that one. I'm going to put it out there because I'm evil. This phase one does include the 2 islands on the eastern side of the map, outside of the mainland.
Oh, no.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah, I know. Just because I can. And new name, they're very, very heavily on the western edge of the map. By the kind of ruins area. So they're going to have a pretty decent distance to travel to get into this phase 1 circle. For them, would you recommend them waiting until like the very end of phase 1, if anything, phase 2 before they enter the circle?
New name, they are quite far there. They're on the opposite end of their map. They're literally touching the edge of the Miramar map on the northwest, right? I think... No, even if they rotate early, they're still going to be late. So I feel like just take your time and rotate in. Whenever you get looted up, they do have a lot of loot to cover. Plus, with the way the first circle is, I'm taking a look at it. This should be an easy circle for teams to navigate, like as easy as it can get as far as Miramar is concerned, because all the super tall, high mountains and traversable areas of the map aren't really in this first circle. There's a lot of roadways. There's a lot of low, even ground to drive around. There, of course, are some high mountainous areas, but that's more so in the edge sides of the north and the west. So we'll see in the next few circle shifts if those come into play. But otherwise, the roads are accessible, and yeah, you can still get shot at driving down the roads. It is always a risk in Miramar, but it's not as bad as having to drive up a mountain and there's a team up on the mountaintop. That's considerably worse.
It is, man. And I'm really looking for a team to occupy the high ground above Minas Generalis kind of / junkyard area. Not only is it pretty close to the dead center of the circle, but again, it's that really big high ground terrain that's going to give such a big overwatch, and plus allow your team to spread out at least on the first 2 circles to get even more information, gather everything that they need, and then when phase 2 pops up, react accordingly. I know the risk is that it can be tricky coming down from that mountain from any direction, but at least in the first 2 to 3 circles, holding on to it, to me, is way more beneficial.
100%. The first 2 circles, when you're holding the high ground, you'll create spacing. Teams won't really surround you in the first 2 circles if they're getting shot at. They'll just go their other way. It does get risky, though, if it's heading into the 5th, 6th circle and teams are more forced to be stuck next to you, then moving down, yeah, those guys will shoot at you. But we're looking at some of the rotations coming out now. Conquer Romania taking the graveyard / Minas area. Another thing I took note of was during the looting phase, a lot of teams were split looting on Miramar. In my opinion, I love seeing split loots. Like, yes, it can go bad, but something I've noticed over the course of the years, more and more higher level teams will elect to do the split loot. Individual players play better if something, or they start learning in how to deal with a team, maybe, driving by or crashing them. They learn how to stall. Teammates learn how to angle up and support them. But none of that can be possible if you're stuck with dropping close together and looting. So the teams are definitely increasing their skill cap and their skill level. And to see this out of PMCO group stages, the most beginnings of all tournament stages, I'm actually really happy to see that.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Shoot for skill, they're currently in a bit of a 2-2 split, but something they have to consider is that a 2-2 split in kind of very center of the circle is kind of risky, especially one that's somewhat separated. They do recognize that, and they're joining back up as a full squad just in time as Mega Power make their rotation from Picado onto the La Bendita hillside, somewhat out in the open, but it's a good place to hold on to. You have a lot of rocky terrain, a few buildings and compounds that you can hold on to, and to me, Mega Powers have dealt with this phase one pretty nicely.
Phase 1 circle Miramar. This is the power of landing center. You see them literally quite rotating to the center of the first zone. So they have their work cut out for them. They got it easy, so to say, but the next shifts will determine how good the first position rotation is. Chilean on the opposite end here, on the far northern edge. They're not going to get anywhere close to center anytime soon, but Chilean, you've seen them. They're able to fight their way in, and they have no problem doing it on Miramar.
I want to put a little bit of focus on the teams that are kind of in the bottom half of the overall standings. MDC, MF Esports, 7sins EU, Conquer Romania. Because it doesn't technically matter how many games the teams around them have. At the end of the day, when their day is done today, they are 2/3 of the way through. They only have 4 more games to make an impact. And if that mountain becomes too hard to climb, they're gonna go out of the group stage. So I'm definitely concerned about those.
Ooh, Chilean not making the smoothest of rotations. Guigui gets taken out to that M249. You see Rex here working on their long range, which they have down, picking up a knock. About to get another one. Quay was going for the revive. I respect it. No man gets left behind, but that one, maybe it's better off to do go way behind. And he has to eject from his car as it almost gets blown up.
And look, I don't hold that against Shilin. Because if I was them and I was rotating from the Cabri area in this kind of phase 1, already in phase 2, I wouldn't expect a team to be in Crucival. So to me, I don't put that against Shilin. I find it weird that Rexpect stayed in Crucival for so long, as in the city, like they have been. It's just they got a little bit lucky that they were able to catch out, and they also catch out godlike of Quattro forces.
Maybe that's their plan. Maybe they realize, okay, the adjustment we're gonna make, our close range is not good. We'll just stick to the long range and we'll camp it out, catch some rotators off, and you see their long range shots. They're hitting them, and boom! How that was like a 200-meter shot right there. Rex picking up the kill points. Chi Lin going down to 2 players just like that.
Yeah, and that's going to put Rexpect on 3 kills already in this game. I do want to point out that the phase 2 did continue to shift over to the east. It went a little bit away from the 2 islands that are outside of the mainland, but they're still in play. No judge, wink, wink. However, the Impala high grounds are definitely, to me, the main focus of this kind of phase 2. Is new generation, shoot for skill. They're getting pretty close to each other.
Shoot for skill on the low ground. I think they're just going to take the compound they're about to drive up to right here. You see on the screen. This is a good compound. It's kind of in a nice little pocket, but it controls all lines of sight into the fields, and they got a lot of ridges to work with. This is on, I would say, the southwestern edge-ish of the zone. We're not too close to the center just yet watching these 2 teams. But man, I'm looking at the far southwest on my mini-map. There's still so many teams rotating in from the blue zone.
Yeah, MDC, you got New Name, Tip Top are just creeping into the edge of the circle. Then even further back, the rest of New Name are quite far away. Of course, we saw in the north, Rexpect stayed in Crucival, picking up a couple of kills down. They're now starting to make their way down, while 7sins, they're in a very, very good spot inside this phase 2. And now this has to be the game where they pick up 10, 12, 14 points. If they don't do it this game, I hate to count people out, but I really can't help but feel like it's just going to be too much for them.
I agree with that one. The next circle about to come out. I'm surprised those Eastern Islands are even in the second circle. So just because I said that, and it shifts off, but wow, this circle, I'm sorry, Imperium, you're not going to get that ending, but instead we're going to get a very nice circle ending. Nice in the sense of very familiar for all these teams. The lines of sights that's left in this circle stretches quite a long ways. The feeders with a really good spot right there. Conquerors smack in the center. Not the greatest of compounds, but at least they're in the center. They might get a next few circles. And for Romanian boys, though, they have to fight their way in once again, and I would not be surprised if they end up doing it.
Yeah, do a little bit more rotating to go tiny bit closer to the edge of the circle. Indeed, start to make a bit of noise with those bullets. The feeders are defending their strong area on the eastern half of this phase 3, getting a knock and a kill onto one of the Quattro Forces players, if I'm not mistaken. But the team that, to me, has one of the best positions inside the circle is actually in Tropic, while Tip Top take the damage for Romanian boys. Like I say, getting closer to the edge of the circle. Now start to use their bullets, and Paco finds CPDD.
Tip Top versus 4 Romanian boys. I think this is the first time we've seen them fight, and Tip Top, just like how they're falling down on the leaderboards and 4 Romanian boys are climbing up, 4 Romanian boys are also climbing up above Tip Top as they're taking out 2 of their members now.
Oh my god.
Right. Yep. That's 2
so
down
good
now from Tip Top.
Like, they are playing with like an unbelievable amount of confidence. Is it overconfidence? There's a tiny chance it is, but to me, no. For the most part, no. They lose Bright, but they pick up 2 kills. It's phase 3. It's the time to do, because phase 4 is only going to be harder to deal with. A higher chance that there's going to be a third party. I noted Entropic's position on the southern half of this circle. If phase 4 shifts up north, they're going to have to deal with them as well. So it's the right choice. The 4 Romanian boys make some noise now, and then it's going to be easier for them to deal with later on.
Yeah, plus the fight they're taking with Tip Top, it's an easier fight than the fights that they might take with these other teams. Deuce, though, I don't think he's... Wicks driving straight into Deuce, and he should be knocked out. That rotation, not go out. Rex, or Redox, the last one alive, the player that managed to get 11 kills in one game. Does he have what it takes to snake it out and clutch it out?
Redox just picks up another 11 kill game in his solo. By God, that would be amazing to see. New generation looking to finish off what 4 Romanian boys started as Killer's left on his own. The next phase pops up, and it does center up over to the western side of the map for the most part. That flat terrain and the roadside close by. It's very good for Conquerors Romania.
Yeah, Conquerors Romania taking that center position. The previous circle does pay off. I don't think New Generation knows Tip Top it. Okay.
How they do?
Well, I think, yeah, now they do. As Tip Top goes out in the 16th place, I don't even think they managed to get a single kill. Today is not their day. Rest of everyone else, they still got to rotate.
Oh, new name. I was wondering, when is the right time to go for that rotation onto the roadside? Because that roadside is a very special kind of roadside, because you have a pretty big kind of hill, kind of valley entrance either side of it. But when you try to pull it off too early, obviously it can be too hard to deal with. And I think that's where new names have just, they could have and should have left it maybe 1 minute later.
Yeah, they kind of pulled up right into Entropic's area of control. But speaking about Entropic, one of them just get knocked down. 2 new names. Entropic down to 3. New names down to just 2. And they are far split from each other. I don't think Amel is going to be receiving any support anytime soon. And you see him trying to back off. But back off into what? He sees it. There's nothing. There's nowhere for him to run. He has to commit to this fight.
Yeah, Mel. Let's see if he can take the L out of his name and replace it with a W. For the time being, though, the rest of the Entropic crew will look to loot up, gather the utility that they can. But they gotta think about Deuce Gaming coming in from the southeastern edge of the circle, just over the hill. Slike looking to cook up a grenade. This guy's had a fantastic day so far. Throws one out there. It's a little bit blind, but it'll make enough noise to startle the Entropic crew. They need to put themselves in a much better position. Sans peeks. He's going to get spotted out. He's going to get taken out. Slike, with the response rate of a monster, will get a knock on the Sans.
Entropic doing the best they can. They needed to prioritize that defense a bit harder. I would love to see Starkey and Sans get up there and contest it. It's fine if you're peeking a 2v4, because if you don't peek it, this is exactly what's going to happen. Deuce will take that position, and now you have no fighting chance. Entropic down to 1. And the other player, a new name, still alive and snaking it out in that spot.
Credit to Deuce. I think they took that fight perfectly. They needed to be continuing to move, run, and gun, essentially. And as a full squad, again, playing with a high amount of confidence, they take down Entropic. Defeaters holding on to the eastern side of this phase 4. In front of them, it's all flat terrain. Gonna make a bit of noise. That's a bit risky. Doesn't quite work out in a knock, but will push Jesh back a bit as Conquerors Romania continue to be in the center of the circle, while Mega Powers on the side of MF? They are now outside this circle.
Oh, bad new zone shift. Conquer EU still getting the circle blesses. Can they mount the defense? Can they pressure teams away from crashing into them? We'll just have to wait and see. But there's only 2 teams in the circle. Conqueror.
Yeah.
And that of 4 Romanian boys. The solo of Redhawks just laying low, trying to survive this one out.
Now MF looking to encroach onto the space held down by Mega Powers. Grenades flying in either direction. Logist taking a bit of damage, but he's going to be able to heal up in time. One later, he was chunked down to about 10 health, pulls off a first aid. 7 Sins. Okay, I thought they were heading in the exact same direction. They go close by, maybe to enter on the eastern edge of the circle. They get there. Will they be able to benefit? Maybe, but Relay, he steps up, stands there for too long and gets knocked down. Did get a couple of knocks and kills onto members of 7 Sins, to be fair, so I believe it's worked out for the most part. Logis is gonna fly on by. This is wild, this is dangerous, this is crazy, but this is Miramar and this is phase 5.
This position that Mega Power is looking at, that was a position that they wanted, but the fight with the other team took a little bit too long, so a team swooped in front of them. However, Mega Power, they have the positional advantage of throwing nades in. 7 Sins down to just 2 players. One is still knocked, and I don't think he's getting revived. Kraken trying to hop that hay bale, and then a Molotov out of nowhere gets in the car, hops out, and wow, that was the...
Yep.
Yep. That's one way to go out.
I gotta give so much credit to Mega Powers, because the second they saw 7 Sins heading to that area, they completely, they were like, yeah, I don't care about MF. We are really looking to protect our area into this circle, and that is something not a lot of teams do. Shilin, they go down. 8 teams have 25 players. We're about to head into phase 6. And the team that's looking the most confident right now has to be Conquerors Romania.
Conquerors Romania still 4 strong and the only buildings left in the zone. If they get the zone again, this has to be their game. But there's a good chance, I think, Deuce, this might be their game also, as they have such a dominant control on the southeastern side. And it's all open fields. But if you have a dominant position in an open field area and you could push teams away, we'll see on the circle shift. And
oh,
that changes
feels
things.
bad for defeaters. Yeah, feels bad for defeaters. because they made a bit of noise and they alerted the attention of Deuce, which I think was the wrong thing to do. That's where Deuce have been able to crowd around and suppress the feeders a little bit. The last player Respect has gone down. Jesh is doing a great job of taking shots onto Mega Power in front of him. He's the anchor point inside this phase 6.
Josh doing a great job. I love how he's playing loud, even though he's an anchor point. It could go both ways. It might be risky, but he picked up that kill point. Defeaters, they hear the sounds out of Defeaters.
I like that.
Or not Defeaters, Deuce. Defeaters hears Deuce, so they're going to try and go the other way. They don't want to take a head-on fight. They could third-party this one, though, between Conquerors and Sorry for Skill.
Oh, Besso's the last one standing. The IGL of the side in amongst the bullets of the smoke, and that's going to be Conquer Romania picking that one up. I like that aggressiveness, but now they're going to have another fight on their sides as the feeders just commit to going to the hillside. Shields is going to get knocked down. Alicio and crew Xiao Maria indeed on board. That's going to be the feeders doing a wonderful job of taking down the guts of Deuce. They realize the only way we're going to take them down is by going in hard, even if it's at the cost of us losing a couple of players.
Did Deuce just pull a loop-de-loop, I think? Or Defeaters just pulled a loop-de-loop. Instead of going the traditional way down the edge towards the south that I think Deuce was prepared for, they cut up to the north, drove by two other teams while they were fighting, and just smashed right. I do not think Deuce was ready for that whatsoever, and it worked out. It worked out perfectly for the Defeaters.
Leaves Deuce with just one player up outside the circle. Nader gets knocked down. That's the end of MF indeed. Conquer Romania, they haven't quite got the control for the time being. If they take out Mega Powers, it could be their game, but with the nade being thrown out, it puts them under a continued amount of pressure. Logis, Fella God, Rex, still in the circle on the northwestern edge of this phase. Phase 7 going to move on up. Who's going to have the vantage point? Logis onto Ed WZ. That is beautiful. Bogdan goes down as well. Mega Powers, they can't be stopped in this Miramar game.
Mega Powers looking so good, and their grenades are falling a little bit too far, but they took over the two. They took out the two Overwatch players. Now Conquerors EU, it's a 3v2 situation. Defeaters, and then the next circle shift, it favors both Mega Power and Conqueror. There's a chance that they could both just let each other coexist and focus on everybody else that's about to push into them.
I disagree. It favors Conquer Romania because it puts the Defeaters looking in their direction. So they're not only having to deal with the brunt of Mega Powers, but now Defeaters are going to be shooting at them. Daddy goes down. That's the end of Deuce. 5th place on board. A Fella God finds the knock on the Xeon. Vulcan is left on his own. Now Mega Powers, they can't go for the squad wipe onto Conquer Romania. Actually, I spoke too soon. Logis just kind of throws my logic out the window, goes for the push, gets a squad wipe. 3 teams left.
That was risky. You saw how one of those players almost got knocked. Quattro Faker's still in the game. You can't count them out just yet, but that vehicle, Defeaters have heard him. Blade trying to sneak it in, but Defeaters looking so strong. 13
Lovely
kills
spread by Whiskey.
And 4 members alive.
That's a beautiful rotation from Whiskey, and even Defeaters as a whole. They have a 2-2 split, but Alicio gets headshotted to smithereens by Rex. Beautiful composure by him. Savage X and Whiskey playing together, utilizing a burnt out Passion Wagon and that knock with the nade. Savage X, the man of all talent, the jack of all trades, master of, well, definitely more than none. And with Whiskey getting the confirmation of the Fella God, Mega Powers have lost one of their players. They're down to 2, and this could be a Defeaters chicken dinner.
I don't think Style is quite yet into zone, though. So Mega Power, they could look for the free knock on Defeaters once he moves out of cover, which will change it down to a 2v2. And it's looking pretty balanced as long as they could get Style when he moves out. If Style makes it in, though, across the ridge side, across the road, Mega Power is in huge trouble.
Near knee. Connected by Whiskey. So close yet so far. Whiskey gets knocked. Ooh. That's the opening. However, Style made it across the road, so that distraction has been enough to push him forward. We're still in a 2v2. Savage X also makes a bold, brash move across the road. Whiskey gets confirmed. We're in a clean 2v2, but Mega Powers are much closer together. They have a clearer sight of counter fragging potential, but of course the feeders, they have the angles. If this push is going to be pulled out, this V formation, it has to be pulled out perfectly on time. Savage X makes a bit of noise. Rex and Logis, they do have the circle, they have the hay bales, they have control. A lot of utility has been used by the feeders in towards the late stages of this game. Style is snaking on up. He's waiting, biding his time, while Savage X continues to hold them down, distract them on board. Like I said, timing is everything, and Style is looking ahead towards the vehicle.
I just witnessed a pan being thrown at Mega Power. Mega Power returns the favor. I mean, when you're out of util, this is all you got. They're chunking their pans. That's how much these teams have been fighting. They have no more grenades, no more smokes, no more Molotovs to use. And the circle is closing in ever so slowly. Defeaters definitely have the advantage here. But one mishap, and it could easily go the way of Mega Power.
Another pan being thrown up by Style. Phase 8 about to end, and the center of the circle is about to be popped up. I would argue that Mega Power should have made a bit of a push, because this, of course, pulls Savage X and Style closer together while still having the angles of cover. I'm not saying it's a done job for the feeders. Anything can happen. Phase 9 is going to start closing in soon enough. It's do or die, now or never. This is definitely the best ending of the day so far. The closest ending. No crazy circles in sight. This is all two teams in a 2v2 to end this Miramar game. Rex makes the push out. Takes a little bit of damage. Sideline picks up the kill, but the train comes in and Mega Powers seal the Miramar chicken dinner.
Oh my, that came down to raw gunpowder out of Mega Power, and they do indeed had the power. I don't know if the stream caught it, but right when those two players pushed out, one looked directly to the left and one looked directly to the right, and they trusted in each other like, hey, I'm going to win my one, and if I don't, you better win yours and get that trade. And it happened so quickly. I thought the feeders had it in the bag, the Mega Power. Oh, that was the best ending so far. I love endings like that, where it's just not chaos, but just pure gun skill and just teamwork, team synergy. Love it.
Yeah, to me, that's like the best ending of the PMCO so far, really, because especially as a caster, we're given a little bit of time to just, break it down a little bit and really prepare for that final moment, and it was a wonderful way to end that game. Credit to Mega Powers as we head into the standings of that third game. Of course, the feeders, got to give them a lot of credit because they've ramped things up a lot more over today's games, and with 14 kills for them, 26 points in total, despite not getting the chicken dinner, they can definitely walk away happy from that game.
14 kills for defeaters. With Mega Power, they hit the 30 points in one game. 15 kill points, 15 placement points. They must be feeling good about themselves right there. Mega Power, love watching this team play. I love how they prioritize things, how decisive they are. And Quattro Fakers, one of the teams that were struggling here and there, but 10 placement points, that's pretty good. Kill points fall slightly short. Conquer Romania, they also had a decent game, but they need outstanding games at this point if they want to catch up.
Yeah, to give them credit, I did say that they needed kind of a 12-14 point game. Of course, they have to follow up with another one, but the point is, a bit more confidence laid down for Conquer Romania, so that is a deserved game for them. Deuce also getting 11 points, a lot better. Rexpec 7 kills, 1 placement point, 8 in total for them. But to point out real quick before we move on to the second page, that 30 bomb from Mega Power, they're the first team to get over 30 points in a single game. So congratulations to them as we move on to page 2.
Taking a look at page 2, surprising to see for the very first time, I feel like 4 Romanian boys not in the front page. And Tip Top, they continue their trend of just having a bad day. They finished this one with only 1 kill point. So day 1, at least they had a really good day 1, but I think day 2 so far, they have not even managed to scrap themselves 10 points in 3 games.
Yeah, it's not looking the best for them. Yeah, not looking the best for them at all. Look, it's not going to worry too much of teams like Tip Top at the top. A bad day can happen. It's not ideal, but I think they're good for their kind of securing the top 15. Maybe I'm
Top
speaking
15.
too soon. But it should be okay for them. But to me, the circle shifts on that game were clean. They were nice the way it ended. It was always going to be difficult with a lot of kind of flat terrain. But the teams that got that kind of top 2 specifically and good amount of points on board, it was a really, really deserved game for those teams.
Yeah, that game, no shenanigans. Just everybody knows that area of the zone. They know the compounds they should prioritize. They know the fights they need to prioritize. Just like the feeders, they prioritize that one fight with Deuce, and it was beautifully well executed. That even caught me off guard. But yeah, we're going into Erangel next. Miramar, great match, great map. I love to see it. We'll come right back after this quick short break. Don't go anywhere. We have 1 game left to play.
I'll tell you what, I know what song the Mega Power players were singing after that Miramar win. I've got the power. Do. Man, because not only was it a wonderfully executed win, but it keeps four Romanian boys on their toes at the top of the standings. Two teams with 6 of the chicken dinners. So I tell you, this PMCO is really shaping up.
Yeah, mega power. That chicken dinner was one of the, I would say, most difficult chicken dinners we've seen thus far. They had the disadvantage. It was a clear 2v2. No util left. Just straight confidence and team synergy. But let's take a look. Even though they got that chicken dinner, are they in first place yet? We'll have to see. Let's bring up the leaderboards. And wow. It makes it, like you said,
Close.
It makes things very interesting. 4 Romanian boys. I mean, just the game before this, I was like, I think 4 Romanian boys is taking first place. But Mega Power just completely negated that confident prediction. And they're right on the heels, only 5 points behind.
And to be fair, I did say about Mega Power that I would have liked to have seen a bit more aggression from them. I noted that one thing that might hold them back would be the amount of kills. And I don't know if they heard me in some way, shape, or form, telepathically or otherwise, but the amount of kill points they've gotten has definitely increased. It's a lot closer to their amount of placement points. And yeah, being only 5 points behind 4 Romanian boys is pretty darn good. But look at the feeders. 5th place. They started today in 22nd. Yes, okay. Quite a good few teams, like, in the second half, etc., will have more games to play, but you gotta recognize that it has been a very big improvement for the feeders.
Very huge improvement. On the opposite end, Tip Top not improving at all coming into day number 2. I calculated the points real quick. I believe they've only accumulated 5 points so far in 3 games. Whereas day 1, they were averaging, they got 60 points in 4 games. That's an average of 15 points a game. And now they're averaging 5 divided by 3. That's like not even 2 points. So Tip Top, there's 1 game left for them. And we are going back to Erangel. Yeah, they are number 4 overall, but they want to do better. They know they could do better. Let's see some of the teams that didn't do so well on that Miramar game on the second page.
Yeah, Rexpec still 10th. New names 11th. Again, they're kind of hitting a little bit of an average, but it's okay. Deuce moving up to 14th is good, but again, the shaky thing for a lot of these teams on the second page is you still have 4 or so teams, 4 to 5 teams that have 3 extra games ahead of them, so it's definitely not the most comfortable spot for them to be in.
Definitely not. Then the third page is even worse. I mean, the second page, I feel like they're there. They need to maintain it. But the third page teams, I mean, especially the teams with 7 matches played that you see on the screen, this last game for them, they need like at least 20 points.
Yeah.
Like 10 to 15. 20 would be really good, but 10 to 15 to feel okay going into the last day. Right? Because this is their second to last day. Definitely. I'm looking at Entropic, New Generation, MF, MDC. This is it. They got to close this one out.
Yeah, 110% as we move on to the 4th page and the teams that are definitely big yikes, big oof, whatever you want to call it, 7 Sins and Conquer Romania. Again, to give Conquer Romania credit on that Miramar result, they got I think something like 11 points, but when they're on a total of 23, it shows how their previous 6 games, how badly they've been. They just need to continue with another good result in this 4th game of the day.
And 7 Sins as well. They're down at 14 points. Conqueror at least has 23. So for 7 Sins, I know they have 1 day left. They have 1 match left. But when you're that low in the point standings, I feel like starting from this very last match of the day, this is when they have to just go all out. I'm not even talking
Yeah.
about playing standard and getting a good top 5 finish with maybe like 10 points. They need to like play aggressive, get some kills early on, and then also do well towards the late game and get into the late game and maybe even pick up a chicken dinner to just have a chance to break into the top 15 overall.
Yeah, true. I couldn't agree with you more. I think they really have to pull out something unorthodox, and I'll always advise a team to play to their strengths more so than trying something different. And even though a certain position or a certain rotation might not work, if they're more comfortable to pull it off confidently, go for. But now these teams at the bottom of the standings have to really play big. Go big or go home. 7 sins, you gotta pull it out of the bag. I talked to Klasa. He recognized the bad decisions and bad tactics. I can't help but feel they've gone from bad to worse in their second set of games.
Yeah, you see it happen though in the PMCO all the time. The teams that struggle on the first day and that mental breaks down, they continue to struggle even more so on the flip end. You have a few teams like the feeders that struggle and then they counter it. They do their reviews. I'm really curious to see like the mentality of the different bottom teams coming into the day. Some will obviously be more confident and more prepared and more decisive than others. And it really goes to show right now on the bounce back day for these guys.
Yeah, and of course to say, hey, despite the feeders having a much better day too, I was personally coming into PMCO expecting them to be top 5. So on one hand, I'm pleased to see them improving and bouncing back. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, yeah, they're all pretty much PMPL level players anyway. I expect this from them. So I have to kind of weigh that up a little bit and into a little bit with Deuce Gaming. But that's where the PMPL experience can help a team and help a player bounce back a little bit easier, a little bit sharper, and a little bit better compared to other teams who are at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, it's showing too. I think I wouldn't say all, but the PMPL team, so to say, the teams with PMPL players that were all doing really bad after their first day, they are doing better. They are doing better on their second day of playing. So that experience is pulling through. Some more than others, like Entropic, they are doing way better than day one, but not quite there just yet. I think they were the very first team on the 3rd page. So close. But this last one, they could really bring it back and take it back.
I would say that their game 4 really needs to be sensational. Now, I don't know if you get that pun. I hope you do, because they have a player in their team called Sans. Thank you very much. I thought I'd explain it just to be safe. But yeah, I do genuinely think that their last game does need to be extremely good. Because not only for their cushion and their position in the overall standings, but even for their confidence coming into the last 4 games. Because I have no doubt that their first 4 games beat them down to a pulp. Like, it did, because I know that Sans is a good guy, but he holds kind of a good bit of emotion, and they would have been devastated over the performance of their first 4 games. And if they end on a better note today, that will be a massive turnaround for their confidence.
Yeah, they have one more day, and so this climb back up is crucial for all of these teams. I'll tell you what, if you out of a 3-day tournament, right? If you struggle the first day and struggle the second day, very, very low chance to bounce back on the 3rd day. But if you're making improvements going into the second day, especially when you're a team that has experienced players, that goes a long, long way going into the 3rd and final day. Now, I say 3rd and final day, but we still have 4 different groups playing. So there are teams that haven't technically played their second day yet, so don't get too confused. We still got quite a few days left of this tournament before we determine the top 15.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why for the teams that are playing today, and I suppose why we put a little bit more emphasis on this final game of the day for the teams in the middle of the pack. To me, in a competition like this, in a format like this, it is really so much about creating that cushion of the teams around you. So instead of, getting into the final 4 games and having a 5 to 10 point lead over a team ahead of you, if you can have a 10 to 15 point lead, so it requires even more work from them in the final day, then that's even better. That's cool. That's okay.
It's different when you have 4 groups. You don't just get 10 points ahead of the team behind you and it's 10 points ahead. It is 10 points ahead without certain teams even playing yet. And so when they do play, your opportunity to gain points is completely over. So the cushion that you're talking about, Imperium, it's not your typical cushion. You need a super cushion for this stage of the tournament. Now, once we go into the finals and it's the top 16 and only 16, right? Then you have a good judgment of, hey, we're 5 points ahead of this team. Going into the next game, we're 5 points ahead of this team. It works more simpler that way. But yeah, teams really have to take advantage of the days they get to play, because some days they don't play.
And, while we're waiting for this next game to start, we just had to have a bit of a room restart. Sorry about that. I know you're probably sick of seeing our faces. Well, you gotta love Zutei's hat, to be fair. It's pretty kick-ass. One thing to consider, there you go. Show it off. Show it off. One thing also to kind of point out is the teams in Group A, they're going to be at an even bigger disadvantage because they do not control their own ending position destiny, because they play their last 4 games on the second last day. And that is really big. So New Generation, Seven Sins, and Tropic, not so much Shilin, to be fair, and Tip Top, but kind of more the teams at the bottom, Conqueror, Romania, Quattro Fakers. Okay, never mind this last game today, but when they play on day 5, once they're done with those 4 games, it's out of their control. They've got to watch that last game, last day, and hope and pray to the PUBG Mobile gods that the teams around them have a bad day. That's if they're in the running for the top 15, of course.
That's a fingernail biting day for sure. I think the groups that play on the very last day, they definitely have a small advantage, because when you have a point goal, if you have a number in mind that you need to shoot for, and this isn't even for PUBG Mobile, just anything, if you have a clear-cut goal, it's more likely to manifest themselves. So Group A, though, like you said, they don't play on the last day. Destiny is kind of just thrown to the wind to see how these other teams perform. So I love that you bring that point up. That's a part of this tournament dynamic that doesn't really get focused on or talked about. But I've been there before. I remember being the team that doesn't play on the last day and we're barely qualifying. I mean, I'll tell you, it makes it really fun to watch because you're so invested, but you have no control over the results. And
It frankly can straight up suck, to be fair. It can straight up suck, because when you fail and it's from your own technically doing right in that moment, of course that's never easy, but you can kind of process that and kind of go, yeah, okay, that's fine. It was my own fault. Let's get better. But when it's off the back of 4 games and it's other teams knocking you back and knocking you down the standings, man, that's devastating. That's a massive feels bad, man. It's massive feels bad, man. But you know what isn't? It feels bad, man. Our wonderful sponsors over at Xiaomi. You yourself can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG Mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, and you can send the other teams back in the lobby. You can make them go feels bad, man, while you game on a fantastic device. Last game of the day, Zute,
Mhm.
We've already highlighted that the teams down at the bottom need to have a massive game. What about the teams at the top? What about 4 Romanian boys? Are they going to get a 4th chicken dinner?
Hard to say, but I'm loving today's action. Mega Power, I had my eyes on them when they very first played, but this very last game, the game before that, they pretty much secured that they're a top team. But
True.
can they even can they impress me even further in this last game of Erangel? Well, we'll see as we head right on to the plane.
Let's get this show on the road, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It was a little bit longer of a wait, but we are into the final game of day 3 here at the EU West PMCO full split. That plane path, once again, is beautiful for these teams, diagonally going from the southwest to the northeast. To me, you couldn't ask for a better plane path.
Yeah, clean, easy plane path. And I think this time around, Mega Power will not have their vehicles stolen by some of the 4 Romanian boys, since 4 Romanian boys, they could drop right onto their split of Gatka. So, yeah, I think this is good for everybody. There should be no problems whatsoever. But of course, I'm speaking no problems when we haven't even seen the first circle. And Military Island, we haven't seen it yet. We've watched a lot of Erangel games. Now would be a good time to spring one up. Circle Gods, maybe?
Military Island, please. Island Circle. Because I believe that Military Island circles are probably one of the biggest tests of a team's rotation ability and kind of heat of the moment ability when it comes to, you know, both rotations and positions.
Oh, wait
but it's
a
not
second.
going to be the case because that phase 1
Imperium.
is pretty big. Yeah? Wait,
There's
what? Wait,
a
are
team
Mega
dropped
Power
on
being
Mega Power.
tested?
Yes, by 7 cents, a team I was just talking about that need to, or you said it, they need to do something unorthodox. This is as unorthodox as it gets. We have a team contesting Mega Power. I mean, my money's on Mega Power, but when you're fighting from the trenches, when you have everything to lose, you fight differently, man.
Man, okay, I didn't notice that. Thank you very much for pointing it out, my friend. It's good for expecting their start of this 4th game of the day, picking up the kill at the detriment of New Generation. Red X has been taken out, so they're going to look to move away. Split drops from both of these teams, but a much stronger 3-man hold on this coastal line compound, whereas 2 of the players from New Generation ended up being more towards Ferry Pier. But I like this phase 1 circle. It does have about 10, between 5 and 10% of it on the eastern water side, so it does take away some of the landmass. But because of that plane path being so diagonal, I don't think it's really going to cause too much pressure.
Ooh, Rex here looking right at Reet, right? And I think he knows that's why he's not hopping into that vehicle. Now, Mega Power, yeah, you could tell they were not ready to be contested. If you look at the players' drop positions, they are dropping on the edges, like the very hard edges of Pachinki, barely allowing them enough loot. And 7 cents is kind of pushing them out, though. But 7 cents, if you're confident to drop for a fight, you need to be confident all throughout. And they just missed on a huge opportunity of isolating this one player and pressing him. And he's able to make it out. And I bet you that player is not going to drive away. He's going to come back around and he's going to commit to this team fight with the rest of his team.
Yeah. Mega Powers, their players, 3 of their players have the 3 map drop spots as their profile pictures, with like Pachinki, Picado, and Bootcamp with Mega Power on as their profile pictures. So without a shadow of a doubt, they're not going to run away from this one. Again, I really think you were bang on with your point about 7 sins of, if you're going to drop knowingly on a team looking for a fight, you got to be able to kind of follow through with that right from the second that you land on by and pick up a gun for yourselves. It's not really the case. I do still think they have an overall a slightly better position in this city because they have 3 players together, 1 on the off angle. but it's what if or how they're gonna do anything with it. And Klasa, he nearly gets knocked.
That knock, let me tell you, in Pachinki, the first knock usually determines the winner of the team fight. And Rex, he also has a grenade that should be good. He throws.
Oh no!
I think he got the barriers mixed up. He thought, okay, that's the wrong one, Rex. Oh, but okay. Mega Power, they still have the angle advantage. 7 cents more clumped up together. Mega Power taking the angles, and this angle's working out beautifully. There we go. The first knock, first kill goes towards Mega Power.
Like, if you know your teammate is compromised with nowhere to go and can't move away, where is your reaction? Like, that fourth player from 7 cents is still nowhere near his team. That position is useless. Now you're going to have a 4v3 fight. Kraken is prone down. Judy is trying to run away. There's absolutely no synergy with how 7 cents are actually playing this fight.
I'd have to agree, but I can't blame them. They know they have to do something that they're not comfortable with because what they have been doing is not working. And it goes to show why. They're not doing too well. They're not a team that is quite synergized yet. You see players getting picked off one by one, while Mega Power, the communication's there. They got the off angle. Hey, I got a player pinned behind the barrier. Off angle, first knock, first kill. Pushed together into the second known position, and now they're just pushing 7 cents further and further back.
At least Rex and Judy have been able to join up together. I think Kraken is known location-wise by Rex, and one thing that I didn't notice is that we actually have Rex versus Rex between these two teams. I just recognized that. I was like, okay, there's two Rexes. Oh, yeah, I know. So it seemed like the Mega Power Rex has come out on top for the time being. Both of the Rexes are still alive. Logist pushing on up. Gonna go into the building, know where Kraken is, but he's going in on his own. Pre-fires the stairs. Gonna wait for his teammate to join up with him, looking to slow Kraken down. Kraken takes a bit of damage. The UMP in his hands now into first-person perspective mode. He runs away, but he gets knocked down by Rete.
I love that pre-fire. The player Kraken was not making any noise, but he knew he was pushing by himself, so he didn't push all the way up. He just pre-fired it, tried to force out some sound cues, tried to force out more information on the opposing team.
Yeah.
And then when he got the confirmation, his second teammate came in, and man, Mega Power, the teamwork, the synergy, it is there, and they are punching out 7 cents.
And, like, you've also got to remember that compared to other regions, like, for example, North America, like, you've got only one invited team, so there's technically a higher chance that performance, adjusted, that the teams that end up in kind of the top standings of this PMCO group stage will be in the top of the standings at the end of the finals, because there's only one invited team. You've got only one other variable in play, right? So, Mega Power are staking a claim for themselves for that PMPL slot.
They're also staking a claim into their drop spots. I mean, no one messed with it. And now I see why. If we rewind all the way back to day one, where Mega Power was not in the lobby.
Yeah.
Pachinki and Picado, the two of Mega Power's drop spots, nobody even touched. And the craziest thing, right? Game 1, Erangel, nobody touched it. Game 4 on the first day, you'd expect after they watch back the games, hey, Pachinki's free, let's take it. Nobody still even took it. And now we see why, because they know Mega Power, they will contest us there for it. So we may as well not bother with it at all. And yeah, this 7 cents. They gave a shot at it, and Mega Power didn't even lose a single player. And the synergy, the teamwork out of Mega Power close range, it is also there.
Phase 2 pops up. It shifts to the northwest Of course, away from the water, that's a good thing, but the river does come into play. A few teams rotating a little bit later. 4 Romanian boys in Respect specifically going to get close by to each other, but gotta give credit to 4 Romanian boys compared to what we saw in kind of day one's games. They are rotating a lot closer together with each other. So again, like I noticed and I always highlight it, less chance that one specific vehicle and player is being targeted.
Yeah, they lose players early on, kind of common, but you see it. You see the difference. They're stacked right on top of each other. Mega Power finally moving out of Pachinki after they've claimed it. Now I'm curious to see how well they do this game, right? Because every game we've watched them play, they are not hindered by their first rotation, and with a central drop spot heavy team, their strategy is very developed and defined around their first rotation. Now this one, not the same, but I think they got what it takes. They look like a very well experienced team that is able to adjust to many different situations.
They could also benefit them that phase 2 went towards the northwest as opposed to continuing over to the east. Time will tell. A lot of cluster teams on the eastern side of the map, and Tropic still in Yasnaya. I have a lot of question marks on that, to be fair, but if they shift from the very eastern side of Yasnaya to the very western side, that could prove to be a little bit more beneficial. Mega Power stopping as the players of Sorry for Skill rotating through the mountainous terrain outside of school apartments, so they're somewhat respecting each other.
They definitely are. The rotations still continuing on. Second circle, not everybody is done yet. And I think this being the last match of the day, we see a lot of more kind of engagements. This typically happens on the very last match of the day, and these teams are all warmed up. They've had a day to play with. Like you see, Rex completely surrounding 4 Romanian boys. This is the edge of circle 2, so it's not like a strong position that they want to commit and take, but they're committing more so to the fight and for the points and respect. This is going to be a close range fight. Let's see how they do this time around.
Happy, it's a good spot, but his teammates really need to slow him down. Okay, good. The nade came out first, got a knock on the Bright. It can often be difficult breaching this compound because of how open it is around it, but they made the call, they made the push, but Wix, he gets a counter knock on board. Jervy gonna be popping on in with Pappy, gets a double trouble, boiling trouble, leaves Paco left on his own. Paco gets a single knock, it's Pappy left on his own, and now Pappy's gonna be supported by Bardo. It's gonna be 1v2, but Paco gets a jump shot, he gets the third knock. Bardo on his own, but he has a little bit more health on board, half on board, the pre-fire shots come on through, and Bardo clutches up for respect, and more importantly, they keep themselves up as a full squad, and they finally break out of that close quarter combat trouble that they've been facing.
They broke out of it, but it was way too close for comfort. That was a 4v2 because they got 2 opening knocks, and it changed down into a very, very close 1v1. And Rex, that last player of Rex, their heart must have been pounding, because my heart was pounding watching that. I would have been so sad for Rex if they ended up losing a 4v2 like that. But they broke out of the curse, but it's pretty apparent they still have a lot more to work on in the 1v1 and the close range fights. But let's not forget, they took out 4 Romanian boys. They took out one of the toughest teams in the lobby. So that has something to do for sure why that 4v2 got so close. But kudos to them. They stuck with it. I'm pretty sure after they finished off the team and the kill feed finally popped up on who they finished off, and they saw 4 Romanian boys, they were probably like, oh, that was a close one.
We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take that. We'll take the dub. I'm also going to take this phase 3 shift because it headed back over to the east, a little bit of a ping pong with Yasnaya quite central to this phase. MDC, though, trying to deal with Deuce have a pretty solid spread of a 3-1 split between the buildings. Nice shots by MDC. Lavda, he's on his own. So both of these teams have pretty similar positions in this Erangel train.
Pretty similar, but the crossfires are coming out. Deuce, I respect the confidence. They have a compound for themselves, completely safe, but they still sent one player off to get it off angle to capitalize on the MDC player that was a little bit out of position. So Deuce being more proactive, they clear out one player near their edge side, and they also pick up a kill point. So well done to them. But the third circle about to shift in to the fourth. And this circle, all the strong power positions, all the compounds are pretty much taken. I'm curious to see where this one is going to go, Imperium.
Yeah, I like the fact that a few teams have committed to the likes of the Alamo, to the compound that's inside the Yasnaya Fields. Rexpect hovering around that. New names there as well with the Phase 4 shift. It's outside of the Yasnaya, up onto the northeast defeaters. Going to be very happy with that one. So will Deuce. Even MDC, despite losing a player, I know they're on the edge, but at least they're still in the circle.
One team that I'm looking at is Mega Power. This time around, they are forced to chase the circles, and you can see them edging around on the previous zones. They know their rotation's late. How good are they at breaking into these circles when they're coming in so late? But other teams, there's so many teams having to break into the circle. Rexpect already 5 kills. They feel the confidence. They're taking shots at everything they see right now.
And also because of those kind of shifts and the fact that they were already delayed with that fight, I think it's better that they're playing a little bit more of a play style of edge a circle, shoot their way through into the circle, create that space for them. Nice to see the confidence growing from the Spanish side. As we see, sorry for a skill around that area, tip top. Gonna have Shilin close by, the two Chinese player teams outside of the mansion train, the boggy area where there are a couple of dips that both of these teams can hold on to. In Tip Top, they do for the most part have a much stronger stranglehold against the teams around them.
They do have a strong stranglehold, but Rex just coming straight in. This is going to be another close range fight. One of Chilan. Third party Tip Top, though, favoring this Rex push. Now it's a 4v3, but they do not know who's getting knocked on whose side. One of the players of Rex gets knocked and finished off, though. Rex and Tip Top both taking heavy fire. Stupid Pig goes down. Tip Top down to 2.
Yeah, because Rexpect got that kill onto one of the Tip-Top players. It actually pushed the rest of Tip-Top in towards Shilin. But Shilin are looking to join in on it as well. And Pappy gets a kill onto Crank. 8 kills for the Spanish side. Of course, it's not over yet. There's possibly even a 4th party on board. Shilin maybe looking to execute a 3rd party a little bit too early and pay the price. The knockdown that went onto Jervy is being revived up. Phase 4 Blue Zone is closing in. Salazar, he's holding cover. Takes a couple of shots off in the smoke and connects onto Cold.
I love this Rex team right now. They're playing so decisive and they're not losing their close range fights. 8 kills already, and we're just 15. There's still 15 teams. That means the majority of their kills so far were probably close range. They're about to pick up 2 more if they could get the shots in, but they do have to be careful of Chilen, as Chilen is just waiting around the corner. Great nade by Cole to stop that aggression. Jervy also almost gets knocked by that grenade. Tip Top. Is this the counter aggression that they need? Oh, stopped short by another third-party team.
Oh my lord, this fight is heating up right now. Pappy wants to get knocked down, but you can see he's bleeding out extremely quickly. He is going to get revived up. The next phase is about to pop up. On a side note, we actually saw Mega Powers getting taken out on our screen. So the top 2 teams of the leaderboard have actually gone out fairly early in this game. So it opens the door for the teams in the rest of this lobby to pick up a lot more kills, a lot more placement points, and help save themselves in the overall standings. And I'm notably looking at the teams in the middle of the pack. down at the bottom of the standings overall. But the circle shifts on up. It's going to center quite nicely. Entropic still on board. Pappy's going to get knocked down. Rexpect cannot stop being punished by Tip Top, who hold their ground as a duo. Second knock on the Jervy, just one player left standing, and those pre-fire shots on that TPP work out so good for Tip Top.
I respect the push, but it was best not to. There were so many teams just shooting at both Tip Top and Rex. And so the first team to make a move, like you saw Tip Top try to counter push, you saw Rex try to counter push, and it was just not going well for either of them. They should have probably just waited and dipped out at the same time. But Tip Top still with 2 players left, looking at Qilin now. Qilin just taking the advantage of those 2 teams fighting and rotating into the circle. By the way, Imperium, this zone has like no cover in it.
Yeah, I know. I was actually going to bring that up. I'm so glad you mentioned it. Absolutely like zero cover rows in between. Shilin send it in. Juju goes down. Bo's going to get taken out. And sorry for a skill. Just say sorry, but not sorry with those grenades. Take out the whole of Shilin.
Yeah, Qilin meeting their demise right there. Tip Top about to do the same because both teams rotating in from the same direction. Tip Top, though, taking their time a little bit. They're instead going to rotate to the other end right into New Generation. Can they find a safe spot? No, I think New Generation will be the next team to squad wipe right here. Actually, New Generation, they get scared. They're kind of pinched, so they're just going to cozy on up in that little dish. Tip Top live to fight another day.
Yeah, that's definitely showing the unfortunate kind of lack of confidence, lack of control that New Generation currently have in their playstyle, but by just huddling inside that dip and allowing Tip Top to stay in this game and stay on the edge of the circle. Deuce, the circle shifted away. They do have sorry for skill in front of them. Defeaters are on that northeastern side of the circle, looking quite healthy themselves. Besso, the IGL, looks to chuck out one nade, a pre-nade here, pre-nade there, pre-nade everywhere else. Kalu Animal gets taken out, Besso goes out, and Deuce Gaming, very good squad wipe.
Beautiful out of Deuce. This is like a completely different team than what we saw the other day. And that new circle shift comes out, and Deuce are rewarded for it. They get that hillside end zone. MF finally making it into zone, but the Tommy gun, or was it the UMP MDC with a great defense? Can their defense hold up on this nade? Both nades coming out at the same time. One flies a little bit too far, and the other, well, okay then.
Each other out.
Mutual destruction assured right there.
Just like that, 2 teams getting taken out. Credit to Bruta of MDC, though. That was a fantastic double knock on that onslaught of a push. But we're now down to our final 4 teams. New Generation, Deuce, Entropic, and Defeaters. Entropic, full squad. They're the only team with 4 players up.
Yeah, that team has been holding down the eastern edge of Yasnaya. So with those compounds, they managed to keep 4 alive, but they do not have the zone, and they need a push. And now Entropic, they've been kind of ping-ponging back and forth in terms of performance. This being the last game, I say if they are the team that you say they are,
look at the kills they have.
They should win this game. They have the advantage. They have the push angle in. New Generation, they're stuck in that ditch because they decided to hide in. Now it's coming back to bite them in the butt.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sending nades, pushing in person. That's a fantastic balance. A New Generation down to just 1. Kime on his own. No health, no first aids. And as I pointed out, as they pushed in, they're on 11 kills. So Entropic, they have certainly been taking advantage of their Yasnaya high ground position, getting the kills. But now Deuce, it's their next challenge in front of them. While the Defeaters hold on to the northern end of the circle, Jesh is on a little bit of health. Nice play by Sands, but he's going to get taken down by Daddy. Here's Daddy on board, but it's going to be traded out as Slyke is going to get found by Starkey. Remember, the body advantage technically is in the hands of Entropic, but with this sneaky potential third party for Defeaters, you can't confirm it on their side just yet.
Yeah, Yeah, Tropic needs to be careful. If they have too many knocks on their side, even if they win the fight, Defeaters is ready to spring up and take the advantage. And I think that both teams are realizing this right now. So both teams are going to back off from each other. But So,
Lovely.
if you get that
Lovely.
knock, so close. Just one more shot. Does not spot the player out, though.
As the circle shifts, Style gets knocked down. I was going to say, even before the circle shifted, to me, Deuce had a much better position compared to Entropic because there's a little bit more of a hillside protecting them from a third party. Shots connect nearly. Savage X is on half health. So close yet so far, but Daddy's committed. He's continuing to shoot in that direction, but don't get tunnel vision. Entropic, they still have to move into the circle. They know where they need to go. They are surely not confident that the northern side of the circle is free. They have to rotate from the south.
Yeah, if they try to angle out and use... Oh, Daddy!
Oh, no!
Oh, that knock would have been huge. If he could blow up the car in time, Daddy could just get knocked. And this will really secure the fight for Entropic, but Daddy manages to stay alive. Now, Savage X could third party this in favor of Entropic's, but Entropic's proning on in, getting ever and ever closer to Deuce.
See what Daddy was doing, but I feel like that was just too much of a backpedal. Allowed the opening for Entropic to push closer into the edge of the circle. Savage X goes down. The solo player is out. We are left with our two teams. And for the second game in a row, we are getting into the end game with a very clean fight. 4v3, 11 kills already secured by the Czechoslovakian side of Entropic. But now as Daddy holds on behind a tree, has a little bit of cover for his side. Jesh is on one side. Slyke is in the middle. Let's not forget this. Slyke player has been on fire today so far, but so is Sohn. He came in today's games. He hasn't played PMCO so far, and he's racked up 5 kills in this game alone. Starkey on the sidelines. The next phase is about to pop up. Daddy makes a move, and I think Sohn was aware of that. He gets a knock on this, like being opened up on board. Jesh needs to pull out something big. Daddy's on the back line supporting, but they have that 4-man push. Sans, why aren't you pushing more forward? I know the risk is there, but you need to create a distraction on top of the hillside. Sohn's going to edge on around a little bit more. The revive from Jesh onto Slyke is good, but it opens the door. It creates a time while Daddy does his best to push back Entropic, and down goes Sohn. Jesh, fantastic response, but Sohn, why are you going in on the own? You have the body push, but you're playing as if you're solo. Players, you have the ability to close this game out. I know your confidence was beaten down, broken, scarred from your first 4 games, but you have what it takes. As Starkey gets a knock on the Jesh, Daddy's left on his own. Slyke is down for the count. The last kill comes through, and Entropic take the final game of the day.
That got so scary for Entropic. They had that opening knock, but the pacing was just a little bit too slow, and the other team got off the revive, and we saw that push. They realized they were missing on that opportunity, and they rushed it just a little bit. Players got knocked, but they closed it out in the end. The 4v3 favored Entropic, and they clutched the chicken dinner. I believe that's their first chicken dinner of the day. They were on the 3rd overall page, and we were saying, Imperium, they're almost there, but not quite out of the woods just yet. They really need a strong last game, and that's as strong as it gets. 15 placement points, and I definitely more than 10 kills. I don't remember exactly how much, but they racked up the points on that last game.
Yeah, really, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that of pace of that last fight. It was a little bit too slow, and it worried me about them, but Daddy separating in that backline to kind of loot up, I think that was also a mistake made from Deuce. I get what he was trying to do with it, but when you know that you probably have the body disadvantage, having that separation, to me, is just too much of a risk.
I think it goes both ways. If it's a 4v3 close range, if you have a player in the back, yes, the team pushing has advantage up close and personal. But if Daddy were to hit it, I mean, I think that's why Entropic looked so shaky at one point, because they couldn't really deal
Yeah.
with the
Okay.
player in the
Okay.
back. So it slowed his presence alone in the back line, slowed it down, and the defense players up in the close range, they had the advantage because it forced Entropics to push in at somewhat of a man advantage, but positional and angle wise, it was a disadvantage. It was close either way. I think both teams played that beautifully well. If it was a 4v4, it could have been a completely different story. But hey, Entropic, we were saying they needed to do better. They got the chicken dinner, but let's not count out Deuce, man. Deuce, from the very bottom of the standings, really showing like, hey, we just had a bad day. We know how to play this game and we know how to get the points. And they definitely did with that last match as well.
Yeah, and let's bring up the overall standing so we know where these teams stand at the end of day 3 of the PMCO EU West. Of course, we did see at the start of this game, of the last game, the top 2 teams went out relatively early, so the opening was there. But at the end of the day, 4 Romanian boys, they do still close out day 3. 8 games secured, 3 chicken dinners. That's a great return on investment, and 108 points.
108. Mega Power got just a little bit closer. Those kill points early on definitely helped them. But if they were to play that match again, I'm sure they would have done way better if they had their rotation heavy strategy unhindered by a hot drop. But the team fight was still there just towards the end of the game. The edging rotations, they're not used to that. So they got taken out quite early.
That's true, but the feeders. You talked about Entropic, you talked about Deuce. This team overtakes Qilin and Tip Top. Coming into today's games, would you have predicted that would have happened?
Not at all. Not based on the first day that I saw them play. I know you touched on them when we saw them play, and I didn't see anything really amazing out of them. But today, also just 180. Now, they didn't get any chicken dinners as of yet, so that spotlight on them maybe not as bright as they might have want. But Defeaters, that's the team that's just working their way up there, finishing top 3, finishing top 5 with the kill points as well. And they're just going to cozy on their way up to the top. Like Tip Top and Qilin, we highlighted them. We have not highlighted Defeaters, but they're ahead of them.
Yep, big time. Maybe a few more kills from Defeaters to balance that out would be a little bit more beneficial, but it's nothing to be massively sniffed at. Nice to see Entropic break into the top 8. Of course, the top 8 do all have 8 games, an extra 4 games in the majority of these teams. And I'm looking at the points that a few of them have, like 61 points for Deuce Gaming in 8th. Remember what I said, that I believe that cutoff point for the 15th place will be about 90 points. That leaves them with 4 more games to go to secure roughly about 30 points. It is possible. It's an average of about 9 points per game, just over 9 points per game. With how Deuce Gaming played today, I'm very certain they'll do it. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's take a look at the second page of the map rankings for the match that was just played. Rexpect, they're doing okay. They're in an okay position, I would say, with 1 more day left to play. And I like the turnaround. At least they ended off today with a confidence booster, so to say, right?
Yes, sir.
They struggled in the close range. They closed it out. It was shaky, but they definitely closed it out and won it against 4 Romanian boys nonetheless. So 9th overall out of all the teams, not too bad. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, we see New Generation 13th, New Names in 14th. I feel for them because you have 2 teams above them, 2 teams below them, all with an extra 4 games and only roughly 4 to 5 point gap. Hell, last fight are on the same points as New Generation from that standpoint. Let's move on over to the third page, where it definitely starts to get a little bit more dangerous for the teams that have 4 extra games in hand. MF Esports and MDC.
Mhm.
40 and 38 points respectively in 8 games played. That's an average of 5 points per game. They continue that, it's not going to cut it.
Definitely not. And Conquer Romania is sitting at 26 point totals after 8 games played. I feel like they're going to have to do the same thing that we were talking about, something unorthodox for them to catch up on the points, because they don't need just good games at this point. They need insane games to really qualify and break into the top 15. And moving on to the very final page of the standings, the teams here with 8 matches played, I would have to say they are pretty much out of the running to make top 15 unless if some miracle happens.
Yeah, it's not to be harsh, but reality is what it is. 7 sins, 15 points, only 4 more games left. If they were to, let's take the 90-point cutoff, that is an extra 75 points required in 4 games. 75 in 4 games is a ridiculously high average required. I just can't see them do it. I feel bad, but now for Uncalled For, Dab, Douse Legion, TSC and Pajamas, Night Target, Fast Romania, Golden Sport, it's not going to be easy, but all of these teams do still have 4 more games tomorrow to make a big difference and really chase the pack coming into the final two days.
Yeah, they get a good idea of what some of the other teams that shared these bottom rankings with them can do, because we saw quite a few PMPL experienced teams in this bottom page that played today, and they pretty much all of them broke out of it, and they broke out strong. So it pretty much goes to show, like, hey, this is what you guys need to do if you're still down here in the bottom rankings tomorrow. The problem is, I don't think many of these teams are PMPL experienced, and they might not have what it takes to for us to see the crazy games we did today. That's why I said at the beginning of today, I think today is going to be the most exciting day. We have opposite spectrums playing, and not just that, the teams that did bad are the teams that were supposed to do good, and they proved it to us. They are ready for the PMCO. They are ready to compete in the finals. But you never know. Tomorrow, when teams are backed up in the corner, we could see the same thing happen the next day.
What a day. Crazy circles, crazy endings, but we did end on some beautiful team fights across the last 2 games, and we saw a lot of teams bounce back. Very exciting to see, but there's more to come. Day number 4 is going to be on your screens at the same time, same place tomorrow, where groups B and D will have their second set of games on board. Who's going to be the movers? Who's going to be the shakers? Who's going to fall flat on your face? Join myself and Zute once again. As I said, same time, same place tomorrow. And of course, our sponsors, Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 Plus 5G, should I say? There you go. But of course, join us tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful evening, and see you guys tomorrow.